So, check it out. We start with Tuji Aquino, a miserable 29-year-old loner who was just trying to get home from his soul-crushing part-time gig. Bam! Next thing you know, he's in a parallel universe, probably smelling vaguely of old cardboard and instant ramen. The king rolls out the red carpet and calls him hero, but our guy knows the truth. He's a trash-tier protagonist with beginner stats and terminal loneliness. Naturally, the moment they peep his stats and realize he's useless, they bounce him right back out onto the street. Typical isekai nonsense. Now he's depressed even here, because what's a modern bro going to do without his part-time shifts and grinding in internet games? His whole existence is wrecked. After a brief pathetic tantrum, he decides that a hungry man needs to eat. Luckily, before the royal tossout, he at least got a 5 gold coin consolation prize. He decides to snag some apples. Simple, right? He asks the shopkeeper about them, reaches for a piece of fruit, and wham! An info window pops up and jump scares this poor weeb right onto his ass. The shopkeeper immediately goes full NPC rage mode, screaming about the dirty produce and demanding he buy something. Toji, still reeling, apologizes and agrees to buy the spoiled apple. But then he realizes something critical. The currency isn't the same as his old internet game. To confirm this breaking revelation, he grabs a sword, and bam, another info window hits. Finally a productive day. He buys the sword and some non-suspicious new threads so people stop side-eyeing the broke modern guy. Our guy has found his cheat, a unique ability to see all an item's stats and info just by touching it. Plus he's got that sweet item storage inventory, so he doesn't have to lug his trash around like a normal hero. The best part? His low-level shame is irrelevant because he can summon magical creatures and conjure items at will. Seriously OP, maybe even more broken than a solo leveling clone. He collapses on his new bed, thinking his grinding days are over, but now he can do whatever he wants in actual reality, IRL, so a carefree journey it is. Unfortunately, even for a cheat character, survival comes first. Now he's busy picking up all the disgusting monster corpses for his current party, who are just happy they don't have to get their hands dirty with the loot. Tuji, the ultimate logistics hack, uses his inventory skill to carry the adventurer party's entire luggage, because thanks to his info window, the world is swimming in hidden kettle treasures and random items. He's ecstatic. Nobody else can see these sweet treasure pop-ups. He gets to sit back, skip the brutal monster fights, and keep all the secret loot. Pure profit, baby. The only tiny drawback is that his level is permanently stuck at level 1. Talk about a cursed system. The party leader Arisu decides it's time to set up camp, and asks Tuji to pitch a tent. Our guy just smugly pulls one right out of his inventory skill, like a boss. The girl Elisa gives him this sickeningly smug praise, like she's rewarding a puppy, but Fury, the sharp one, points out that since Tuji is already carrying everyone's junk, Elisa should get off her butt and help with the tent assembly. Tuji is just chilling, enjoying the fun of his journey. He's happy to be exploring to his heart's content. After all, if anyone knew about his completely broken cheat skill, they'd probably just look down on him anyway. The pretentious nobles. Around the campfire, Arisu casually drops some hot gossip. Hey Tuji, heard about the latest hero summoning in Depiri. Depiri used to be a war zone thanks to its proximity to the Demon Lord's country, but now it's peaceful thanks to a non-aggression pact. They supposedly summoned a hero to prep for the Demon Lord, but let's be real, it was just to one-up the neighboring kingdoms. Pitiful. Tuji is completely stoked. He got kicked out. Now, he dodged being a political pawn. And since the world is surprisingly peaceful, that just makes the thought of exploring it even sweeter. Arisu, bless his naive heart, worries Tuji might be tired, and tells him to rest for the night. Tuji, basking in this rare moment of actual care, thanks him profusely. When morning breaks, our poor trash-tier protagonist, Tuji, looks completely defeated. He didn't get a single wink of sleep because the party got ambushed by gray wolves during the night. Thankfully, the fight was a cakewalk because of all the sweet dropped items they picked up, you see. Loot is the real power fantasy. Even though Tuji was useless and didn't lift a finger, Arisu still apologized to him for having to witness the brutal combat. How polite. Elisa, meanwhile, is doing the math. They got attacked despite not camping in wolf territory. So the real target, the big subjugation boss that the Adventurers Guild is after, must be lurking nearby. You know the deal, when magical creatures hit that elite level, they transform and expand their domination radius. Tuji figures if he gets left behind, he'll immediately become wolf kibble, so he's sticking close. Plus he's got his eyes on the prize. A rare strengthening scroll is probably a potential drop, and he wants that cheat item bad. Fury, perched up high like a sneaky ninja babe, warns the party. A massive wave of gray wolves is charging right toward them. Elisa, clearly tired of this nonsense, charges forward and unleashes a barrage of fire spears that vaporizes a large chunk of the wolf pack. But a moment of weakness, classic rookie mistake, is all a wolf needs, and one tries to pounce. Luckily, Kurasan, the big shield bro, saves her at the last second with a perfectly timed block. Our protagonist realizes that these wolves are way too strong for his trash-tier body to handle in an actual fight. Fury's enemy detecting skill is useless against this many targets, so she switches to concealment mode to stay out of the melee. The wolves are blisteringly fast due to their special physiology. Hearing this, Tuji gets hyped because unique bodies always equal rare drops. That's the only important piece of information here. If he wants to graduate to solo leveling, Tuji needs a power boost. Fighting monsters for EXP is too risky, so the smart path is acquiring top-tier equipment to make his adventures safer. The strengthening scroll is critical to this cheat strategy. Even in the middle of the massacre, Tuji is already trying to snag loot, but he almost becomes Wolfchow in the process. Arsu yells at him to hide behind the tank Khorasan and Tuji complies immediately. He definitely doesn't want to find out if respawn is an option in this horrific reality like it is in his video games. Elisa looks like she's having fun turning wolves into charred meat when Fury, popping out of nowhere, spots movement in front of Khorasan and shouts a warning. This lets Khorasan raise his shield in time, preventing a sneak attack. The stunned wolf tries to bolt, but Khorasan lands a perfect shield bash, immobilizing the poor creature. Arisu and Elisa seize the opportunity, unleashing their full power combo to finish it off. Tofi is momentarily impressed by their teamwork and rapid monster disposal, but immediately forgets about it because the true reward is the mountain of fresh loot. He dives in, takes one look, and bursts into tears of pure, unadulterated joy because he found the strengthening scroll. The others just look at him like the strange weeping loot goblin he is. He calculates the total haul is worth a staggering 2,000 kettles, a huge payout. But wait, there's a bonus surprise waiting. Naturally, some rare equipment drop too. Hallelujah. It's only been a few days since that wolf massacre, and our boy Tuji has been grinding like a madman. He's finally saved up a respectable stash of cash, and is now furiously trying to ditch the shame of being permanently level 1. To multitask, he's hunting pathetic rabbits and picking up dull herb-gathering quests. Why bother with mundane tasks? Because those Adventurers Guild achievements are gold, and more importantly, his hidden skills should finally unlock when he hits level 10. After putting in a terrible amount of effort, seriously. Who spends this much time on rabbits? Tuji is finally level 5. He realizes reaching level 10 is going to be a nightmare. He whines that even those gray wolves were terrifying, practically giving the new Destiny's Wind party a hard time, which just reaffirms his need to power level immediately. He got his precious strengthening scroll, sure, but he also scored some sweet high-tier equipment that is useless until he hits level 10. Thinking this is still a game, Tuji decides to try cheating the system. He forces the high-level gear onto his level 5 body, and finds his strength stat immediately drops from 110 down to a pathetic 90. Damn it, this isn't a game. He can't cheat. Back to the grind, level 10 it is. He pulls out his sword and a stack of those precious upgrade scrolls. He has two types, one for increasing raw weapon stats like attack and magic power, and the other for boosting personal stats like strength and vitality. The numbers on the scrolls? That's the success rate, obviously. Lower chance means bigger stat gain, but a fail means the equipment might get completely destroyed. He tries the risky 60% scroll first, and bam, it succeeds. He immediately rolls the dice again for another upgrade. Tuji is thrilled to see his longsword's attack power jump up by 3 points. While out hunting herbs, he runs into his former party, the new Destiny's Wind. They're on a subjugation quest, currently dealing with a goblin settlement near some village. Tuji remarks that killing one goblin is easy for an E-rank chump, but a whole settlement is tough even for a seasoned C-bor or B-rank team. Respect where it's due. Fury, showing off like a proud kitten, flaunts the new cloaks they got from the wolves. She brags that the cloaks can briefly erase their presence, the ultimate sneak attack tool. Tuji, instantly curious about the loot tier, checks the item info. Level 30 equipment. It seems getting the good drops only happens if you deal the killing blow. Arisu, being the nice guy, wanted to gift a cloak to Tuji, but since it's level 30, it's useless to our level 5 scrub, so he offers the cash equivalent, which Tuji refuses. Noble idiocy, right? The others praise him for his virtue, which only serves to make him feel intensely guilty about all the scamming he's been doing. Tuji quickly says goodbye, contemplating the bizarre concept of friendship and thinking he should probably assemble his own party of suckers someday. Fast forward a few days. Tuji has finally crawled his way to level 9, but the solo life is catching up to him. He's struggling against monsters because he has no attack skills, just a longsword and his wits. He's elated though because he's only one level away from that level 10 unlock. Then it's vacation time. Suddenly Tuji overhears the royal castle soldiers searching the Adventurers Guild. He leans in for the juicy gossip and gets a shock. They are looking for him. They even know about his current modus operandi, carrying luggage for adventurers. Tuji immediately spirals into panic, thinking they just want to enslave him and exploit his hidden skills. He bribes the bartender, begging for the use of the back door and insisting he's innocent. The regulars who he's been kind to, probably through accidental generosity, vouch for him. Tuji uses the opportunity to make his escape. He decides to ditch his belongings at the inn and accelerate his travel plans. He wonders if he needs to skip the country entirely, because if the king's lackeys catch him, he's absolutely screwed and will lose all his precious freedom. Luckily, the guild has overseas branches, so he can still find work easily. Unfortunately, the royal guards are already waiting for him at the inn. He cuts his losses, decides the stuff wasn't that important anyway, and bolts out of the capital. Naturally, he immediately bumps into the new Destiny's Wind party. Arsubai asks him directly about being chased by soldiers. Tuji tries to explain his desperate situation, but Arisu's sudden change in demeanor makes him completely panic. He's convinced they're here to catch him too. Right at the city's main gate, we find our hero Tuji, in the most dignified position possible, stuffed into a massive bag being lugged by Kurasan. Earlier, during his panicked retreat, he ran right into the new Destiny's Wind party. He thought they were going to turn him in for the reward, but to his absolute shock, they decided to help him out instead. Arisu explained they just picked up an escort job heading outside the capital, making it the perfect opportunity to sneak Tuji past the royal goons. Their sheer, unadulterated kindness brings Arisu to tears. What a wholesome side quest this has become. Later they meet up with the client, Miss Meyer, who Tuji immediately finds attractive. Arisu introduces him, but she immediately shuts it down, saying she doesn't want to deal with any strays. Arisu tries to explain that Tuji is part of their official adventuring group. Meyer points out that the journey will be dangerous and she won't pay extra for the baggage. Tuji, seeing a perfect opportunity for loot exploitation, immediately bargains. He'll carry all her cargo for free. This was Meyer's genius plan all along, so she happily accepts the deal. Tuji, using his legendary cheat, immediately loads everything into his infinite inventory. At the gates, the knights stop them for inspection. They search the loading dock, but of course everything's invisible thanks to Tuji's item box. Their attention turns to the giant bag Kurasan is carrying. A bag so big you could hide your mom in it. According to the narrator, Kurasan tries to argue it's too much trouble to open, but the knight insists on searching. Tuji is panicking inside the bag. He's about to be caught. He considers turning himself in rather than getting his friends in trouble, when suddenly, the guards spot a random man dressed exactly like Tuji running through the crowd, and they immediately ditch the party to chase the decoy. Meyer later explains that her company got hold of some rare otherworld garments because she likes collecting rare items. Plus, she figured people wearing unusual clothes make better connections. Tuji instantly realizes that Meyer is the mastermind who paid someone to run around in his civilian clothes to create the distraction. What a woman. After their successful escape, Arisu checks his map and announces they'll reach the next town by tomorrow. Tuji is intrigued by the fancy map, and Arisu explains that it's a high-tier map only accessible after reaching D rank, which conveniently also shows other adventurers' locations. Tuji takes a peek, but the map window pops up so fast he panics and shoves it back to Arisu. Later at camp, Fury warns them of an incoming threat from the southwest, likely goblins. Tuji draws his sword, finally ready to get that sweet level 10 promotion. But Arisu stops him, insisting it's too dangerous for the luggage carrier. Elisa shoves him into the tent for safety. Suddenly a status window showing Elisa's abilities appears, asking if Tuji wants to join their party, and he can even see everyone's HP bars. Tuji is even more shocked when he realizes he has somehow hit level 10. He immediately whines that stealing experience from his party members is the biggest cheat imaginable, so he decides to keep this broken skill a complete secret. After finishing their work in Fergie Town, Meyer gets overly friendly, telling Tuji to stop being so formal since they are the same age. Tuji reveals his true age, 29, which naturally shocks the 19-year-old Meyer. She then asks where he got that enchanted longsword. Tuji immediately lies, claiming it came from some local weapon shop. Meyer, who has an appraisal skill, sees right through the trash. She cries out that a local smith can level up a sword to +3 and make a huge profit, a business opportunity. Tuji is surprised. He didn't realize that craftsman skills affect attack power, and immediately sees the huge profit potential in selling enhanced cheap products. Tuji prepares to leave, but Meyer asks to accompany him halfway, and he agrees to meet her at the gate in the morning. Meyer is thrilled, excited to find more interesting things and make more profit. Tuji, however, feels bad about lying to the poor girl. Even though he's sure Meyer isn't a bad person, he worries about her reaction if she ever found out about his broken status skills. Because of this paranoia, he immediately hired a different escort group from the Adventurers Guild and left town before noon, ditching her completely. Tuji hires a new escort group because the next town, Landpiece, is a punishing 3-day walk for a weakling. The group is way too enthusiastic, attacking every monster they see like they are trying to speedrun the dungeon. Tuji is totally fine with this because even though he paid a premium, he is basically AFK farming drops for profit and leeching XP just by standing there. While looting, Tuji finds a kobold summon card and grabs it, figuring even a trash mob might come in handy. Apparently there are 6 monster classes, and if you collect 100 cards of the same monster, it evolves to the next class like a shiny Pokemon. Tuji stores the card in his monster book and names his new buddy Pochi. Suddenly, a bandit horde ambushes them while he is distracted. The escort group, still thinking they are the main characters, charges in expecting an easy win. The bandits laugh, realizing the group averages level 30, and complain that a level 12 scrub like Tuji shouldn't rely on such amateurs. The escorts flex their muscles and boast about their strength. The bandits flex back, bragging about their kill count, and calling the escorts little boys playing hero. To teach them a lesson, the bandits surround them with superior numbers and offer a scummy deal. The bandit leader says to surrender the gear, the loot, and the client, and they can leave alive to live as losers. The escorts still want to fight, but Tuji knows the smart play is to surrender because dying is inconvenient. The group worries that surrendering will ruin their reputation, which is basically social death. The bandit, a smooth talker, convinces them that a worthless life is better than a worthless death. He cooks up a scam, telling them to just lie and say they were ambushed and knocked out cold so they lost their stuff. Tuji thinks Bundle and his men would never be that pathetic, but boy is he wrong. They strip off their armor and run for the hills, promising to return the deposit later. Now the bandits interrogate Tuji about why he needed so much protection and demand his belongings. Tuji curses his lack of combat cheats and cries, revealing his item box ability and dumping his loot to survive. The bandits see a walking piggy bank, kidnap him to their hideout and promptly get drunk and pass out. On the way, Tuji realizes the horde was just scarecrows, meaning he got played by a bluff. Since the bandits didn't guard the weakling, Tuji pulls his sword and summon book from inventory, bringing out Pochi to cut him free. Tuji steals back all his stuff plus the bandits' loot. He tries to sneak out but clumsily knocks over a bottle, so he has to bolt. Pochi howls, summoning a horde of kobolds to stall the bandits. Though the weak mobs won't last long, Tuji hits the road and naturally runs right into Meyer. Tuji is forced to apologize to Meyer, who is understandably pissed because his wanted status makes her an accomplice. She heard from the guild about his escort request to Landpeace, and grills him about why he's traveling with a kobold and fleeing the royal guard. Tuji, realizing he's pushed the cute merchant too far, decides to come clean. Meyer, shocked by the revelation of his infinite inventory cheat, immediately sees dollar signs and tells him he's hit the jackpot. She confirms his suspicions about the hero's party. Typical unbalanced harem setup with no support classes or item box users, which is exactly why they needed a mule like him. Since Tuji wants out of the country, Meyer proposes a partnership. She's from Togar, and his item box is basically free shipping. Tuji asks for his cut, and Meyer offers a generous 50-50 split. Since she saved his butt twice, he accepts, jokes around a bit, and genuinely thanks her. At the next town, Tuji preps the next shipment but feels uneasy about being so close to the capital. He reveals to Meyer that he accidentally acquired the bandits' loot along with his own, and needs help fencing it. Meyer laughs and agrees, but even she questions just how much stuff he looted when she sees the massive pile. It's going to take forever to sort, so she sends him off for coffee. Later at the cafe, Meyer explains the sale went great, since bandits can't exactly report theft to the guards. They made bank on high-quality pelts. She slams a heavy bag on the table containing 118 gold coins over 1,000,000 kettles, and warns him not to get robbed like a rookie. They grab lunch and skip town. On the road, Tuji tries crafting. There are 5 classes, but alchemy is key for potions and antidotes. Gathering mats is crucial for weapon production, and crafting grants valuable items. Tuji effortlessly converts flowers into pure extract, and produces grade 10 healing potions. Meyer is impressed by his zero-effort alchemy cheat. Currently, he's aiming for artisan level. Pochi, his kobold, proves surprisingly smart at alchemy, making Tuji wonder if summoning boosted his IQ. When Pochi makes a mistake, Tuji calmly corrects him like a good teacher. Finally, they reach William City, the trading hub. Past this lies Togar territory and freedom. Toji is thrilled at the prospect of a relaxing new life. Meyer makes clothes for Podai to disguise him, but it just makes him look weird, so Tuji stuffs him back into the inventory book. Registration for Togar takes time, so Meyer tells Tuji to explore. He's impressed by the big city vibe, but gets immediately distracted by a yakitori vendor. Overwhelmed with joy, he orders 10 skewers because his item box keeps food fresh forever. The bill is a steep 5,000 kettles, but he pays up. He teaches Pochi how to eat them, and they bond over meat on sticks. Next, Tuji goes weapon shopping. He appraises a sword with a +7 upgrade level, and thinks it's a steal. The shopkeeper, sensing a sale, suggests getting something enchanted because it requires less skill to use. He explains that enchantments improve performance but risk reducing stats by 50% if botched. This is common knowledge because dungeon drops are for mats, while actual magic weapons are rare and valuable. He offers to buy any high-tier elemental weapon Tuji finds. The shopkeeper then flexes his not-for-sale family heirloom, the two-handed magic sword of Laspian. Toji's appraisal reveals its broken potential. It's latent equipment that gains updates later. It boosts strength by 10% initially, but later adds a flat +10, which is insanely overpowered. Toji settles for buying a high-upgrade one-handed sword, and rejoins Meyer. Thanks to Meyer's connections, they cross the border easily. They travel the Dragon's Scar Road, with Tuji chilling in the back while Meyer drives. Suddenly, a golem ambushes them. Tuji panics, but Meyer explains this is actually the safest route because the anti-monster army and guilds heavily patrol this golem spawning ground. Long ago, the demon dragon Gaia wrecked the valley with earth magic so strong it spawned golems. Tuji spots adventurers fighting and sees piles of precious loot drops. Overcome by greed, he jumps out of the moving carriage to run for the loot. Meyer teases him for his golem obsession, unaware he sees invisible treasure. Tuji pities her for being unable to see the riches right in front of her face. Meyer cooks dinner, and Tuji checks if Pochi's cover is blown. Luckily, everyone bought the cute pet familiar story. The next day, they encounter another subjugation battle. Tuji manages to restrain himself slightly, but still snags the drops. He collects 100 golem cards, unlocking the ability to summon a rare golem monster. Finally, they reach Sarto, Meyer's hometown, which she hasn't visited in 7 years. Tuji feels sad about parting ways. Meyer teases him about missing her, and invites him to her parents' house for dinner later. Tuji agrees, smiling, and heads to register at an inn. In the city, Tuji is happy about his fresh start. He registers the city map and books a high-grade room at an inn for maximum comfort. He summons Pochi to relax on the couch, reminiscing about his old life. Tuji decides to strengthen his equipment with his scroll hoard. Checking his status, he is shocked to find he's level 21. He realizes his EXP stealing ability leached points from the Iron Will army and the bandits who captured him. He feels morally conflicted about this unfair cheat and considers deleting the function, but realizing it would cripple his growth and lose him the earned EXP, he decides to keep being a cheat. He strengthens his everyday gear and brews some potions before the main event. Outside, he summons his new golem tank and tries to evolve it into a rare type. He's annoyed it costs 10,000 kettles, with the price increasing tenfold per level, and only a 50% success rate. He risks a gold coin to unlock new skills, and it works, sort of. Instead of a cool skill, he gets a defect. The golem takes damage just by existing. Tuji apologizes to the sad golem, Tekito, while the inn staff ignores the crazy guy talking to rocks. Later, Tuji visits Meyer's parents and is shocked to find they live in a massive mansion. The butler greets him with suspicion. Tuji asks for Meyer Albert, which enrages the butler for being too informal. Meyer laughs it off, telling Subais to chill. She apologizes, explaining Subais is just overprotective. She asks if Tuji is here to make them rich. Tuji reveals he has 1,300 potions, causing Meyer to lose her absolute mind. He partners with her family to sell them cheaply, still making a huge profit since his production cost was 0. His item box makes shipping a breeze. They celebrate with dinner and a city tour. Tuji grinds simple jobs to boost his guild rank from E to F. Since Sarto is surrounded by dangerous forests, potions are in high demand and Meyer bought his entire stock. Material collection is such big business that only the low-rank handyman jobs are left for him. After helping a restaurant owner, Tuji gets a free meal. He discovers the dishes are Japanese, but the owner tries to hide the secret menu, offering only bread and soup. Toji insists on the secret menu and orders 2 beef bowl specials. He eats like a maniac, thrilling the cook. The owner, a former B-rank wandering chef adventurer, brought rice to the city, but locals hate it, and his son wants him to close up shop. Toji refuses to let his rice source die and vows to become a regular. Toji brainstorms ways to make rice popular but fails. While eating there again, a customer asks about his dish. Tuji realizes the rice isn't even on the main menu, and confronts the owner. The owner admits he hid it because rejection hurt his feelings. Tuji angrily points out that people can't order what they don't know exists. Seeing Tuji enjoy it, other customers start ordering rice, saving the shop. Later, Tuji finally hits rank E and gets his guild card, unlocking subjugation quests and training areas. He notices some familiar names are missing from his friend list and feels weird. He tries to leave, but the receptionist stops him with an official quest. It's a backed-up request to clean the sewers for 60,000 kettles. She assures him it's just weak slimes. Naturally, she lied. The place is absolutely swarming with them. Toji takes the sewer job for a cool 60,000 kettles, thinking the smell isn't that bad like a naive fool, but he jinxes himself immediately as a wall of stench slams into his face. The source is a gang of sewer slimes thriving in the filth, and looking at their numbers, this cleaning job has been neglected for ages. The slimes jump him all at once, so he orders his golem to tank it, and the big guy defeats them with a simple belly flop, unfortunately splashing nasty sewer water all over Tuji and Pochi in the process. Tuji sees the drops and his greed kicks in, triggering a slime hunting fever alongside Golio, while Pochi is stuck on cleaning duty like a maid. In a short time, Tuji farms an insane number of summon cards and starts plotting evolutions. Suddenly he runs into a massive slime wearing a crown, and realizes it is the king, who is pissed at Tuji for slaughtering his subjects. Tuji accepts the challenge and orders Golio to smash the slime, but the punch does absolutely nothing. The slime is jelly, so physical attacks are useless, and it strikes back, actually hurting the golem. Tuji realizes he has a real fight on his hands, but figures that high resistance doesn't mean invulnerability. He tells the golem to bench itself, and decides to continue the fight with Pochi. Tuji is struggling against the Slime King because the thing keeps spewing a stench so foul, and a liquid so gross he can barely grip his sword. He notices the slime shrinks with every attack, so he decides to fight back with the ultimate weapon, which is buckets. Tuji and Pochi team up to scoop the king down to size, but the cheater just absorbs the smaller slimes to regenerate his mass. The bucket strategy is failing, but then Tuji spots a semi-transparent ball in the center. and figures that destroying the core is the instant win condition. He orders Pochi to grab the dirty core, but the dog flat out refuses. Tuji realizes Pochi's sensitive nose makes this hell for him, so he decides to risk it all and dives straight into the muck himself. Fighting the urge to vomit from the overwhelming smell, he searches for the core. After groping around, he finds it and pokes it with his sword, popping the Slime King like a cheap balloon. He is shocked by the massive loot explosion, and luckily, he even scores the Slime King itself as a summon. He grabs a magic shield too. Despite smelling like death, he feels it was worth it, and immediately goes back to farming the small slimes for more drops. Later he reports the finished quest to the receptionist, but she refuses to talk to him because he absolutely reeks. The guildmaster steps in to give him a bonus for the king kill, bringing the total haul to a handsome 90,000 kettles. Tuji wakes up the next day realizing he passed out mid-grind like a true corporate slave, having hunted over 200 slimes in the sewer. His reward is a mountain of low-level recovery potions, which are basically just magical energy drinks for gamers. He holds a family meeting with Pochi and Golem to name the new slime pets. Pochi suggests Blue, basic as hell, while Golem suggests Tyrol. Tuji decides this via a high-stakes paper plane contest, and Tyrol takes the win. He summons Tyrol, finding the little blob cute since it isn't covered in literal filth, and immediately cheats it up to rare rank. It is a healing slime now, and while a 10 HP heal is pathetic, I guess it stops you from dying. He tries to summon the Slime King next, but a woman screams at him for wrecking the backyard, forcing him back to manual labor. Later at the guild, while picking a quest, he eavesdrops on gossip about the legendary Depuri hero party of summoners. Apparently these level 50 chads beat back invaders from Lesteli after a long battle, but now they are useless because they are stuck training in a dungeon forever, since they have nobody to carry their luggage. Toji ignores the foreshadowing and picks a quest to kill 3 goblins. The receptionist warns him about city limits and staying out of the deep forest. He needs to pass this tutorial quest to unlock real monsters, and she politely tells him to take a bath because he smells. Hunting time. Pochi tracks a scent, and Tuji preps for a fight, but it is just a pile of loot drops. Tuji realizes he can just farm without fighting, questioning his life choices, but decides it is fine since he got his summon wifus this way. Pochi smells something else, but loot comes first, investigation second. Tuji jumps the goblin and drops it with a single strike, realizing that in this broken world, having higher stats is the only cheat code you need to make life easy. At first he was shaking because it was his first humanoid kill, but now he is relaxing like a pro. Tuji sniffs out the other goblins, and Tuji speedruns the quest so he can spend the rest of his time acting like a trash collector picking up drops. Tuji spots a baby bird that fell out of its nest and decides to play the nice guy, asking Golio to boost him up. Suddenly the mama bird swoops in attacking Tuji, but Pochi somehow talks to her and clears up the misunderstanding like a Disney princess. Tuji tries to go back to farming when a bird kamikazes straight into Golem and explodes. Turns out it was a rare bird that drops a unique grade summon card. Tuji hears voices and realizes it is the party that was chasing the suicidal bird. Once they see Tuji has the loot, they start arguing about who should take it back. They debate lying to the buyer about the bird getting damaged, but the whole thing turns into a mess. The woman is raging because she wants to rank up and sleep in a real house or inn instead of smelling like a stable every night. Free tries to calm Ignis down, but his simp energy fails, and they fight even more. Tuji watches this soap opera and gets annoyed. Bro tries to assure Ignis they will figure it out, but she acts mean, so Frey demands she apologize. Tired of the noise, Tuji steps in and offers them the bird carcass just to shut them up, which instantly flips their moods to happy. Ignis completely changes her character, thanking Tuji before the party leaves. Tuji heads home and adds the new summon card to his book, realizing that thanks to his broken cheats, he actually kept the bird too. Tuji has grinded his life away to reach level 8 in his artisan skill, effectively making him a master. He has been slaving away day and night to boost his skills, but his potions are still trash tier with weak effects, so he decides to pivot to manufacturing specialty drugs, because apparently messing with non-status effects is where the real money is. Sadly, he lacks the illicit ingredients for that enterprise, so he switches focus to grinding his equipment production levels instead. Later, Meyer looks visibly annoyed because Tuji dumps a literal mountain of weapons on her. Being the ultimate loot goblin, Tuji hoarded ores during his travels and used them to mass-produce enhanced swords. Once he hits master level, he can craft broken weapons with latent potential. This makes his cheat skills even more absurdly OP, since he can basically invent whatever broken gear he wants, allowing him to grind levels and make a filthy profit simultaneously. Meyer, smelling the money, orders Tuji to sell his entire inventory exclusively to her. She appraises the swords and tells him that if he unloads this stash, he can easily make a cool 100,000 kettles. Since he crafted all this trash from free drop items, it is 100% pure profit. Tuji heads to an abandoned mine to exploit his summons for manual labor and ore collection. His summon collect boosts drop rates just by existing and acts as a radar to scout out the good ores. They try to farm, but naturally a wild Goron appears to ruin the vibe. Goleo, not wasting time, uses a steel hammer to smash the Goron to bits in a single hit. Tuji and Pochi join the beatdown, attacking the Gorons with their pickaxes like maniacs. Collect wants to throw hands too, but Tuji tells the squishy bird to stay back because it has paper-thin defense. Tuji is ecstatic because Collect's broken skill lets him farm high-tier silver ores from trash-tier monsters. Afterwards, as they head back, Tuji hears a girl scream. He wonders if he should ignore it like a sane person, but Pochi forces him to go check it out. Tuji equips the Cloak of the Hidden Wolf to go full stealth mode. He spots some scorched earth and finally locates the source of the screams. A girl getting ganked by a gang of orcs. Tuji immediately does the math, figures Pochi will get wrecked by those numbers, and decides the smartest move is to just give up and walk away. However, he recognizes the girl as Ignis, and wonders where her dysfunctional party is. He summons Collect and orders it to go fetch the others. Ignis is trapped in an abandoned shack, but Tuji manages to sneak in like a ninja to save her. She is shocked to see him, but he plays the hero, saying he heard her screams and is just glad he arrived before the orcs did anything terrible. They try to bolt, but Ignis has a busted ankle, so Tuji patches it up and feeds her a healing potion. Ignis is panicking about the guards and the other orcs, but Tuji explains he already knocked out the sentry and the rest are still lurking in the forest. Ignis screams that they need to leave now. Tuji wants to wait for the potion to kick in, but she warns him that orcs have a cheat-level sense of smell and hunt in packs. She explains that orcs usually won't attack a full party, but since she was solo, she was an easy target. Tuji assures her that backup is being summoned, but she is convinced her party won't return. Turns out, after receiving the reward for that bird carcass Tuji gave them, her share was so pathetic she threw it on the ground and rage quit the party. She was furious that Brady gave half the money to Frey's parents' bakery and split the rest, which is frankly terrible financial management. She calms down, realizing that earning money is hard, and maybe she shouldn't have been such a diva. Tuji tries to hurry so they can escape before the orc reinforcements arrive. Ignis tells Tuji to leave her behind to save himself, which naturally just guilt-trips him into staying. They exit the shack only to find a massive army of orcs waiting for them. Ignis reveals she is useless because her fire magic staff is broken. Tuji, ever the crafter, realizes he can't fight this army alone, so he decides to speedcraft a magic staff for Ignis right there on the spot. Hoping to buy time, Tuji summons his ultimate weapon, King Kamon, the massive Slime King. Seeing Tuji summon a literal Slime King, even Ignis is impressed. Looking at the sheer size of the thing, Tuji is just glad he didn't unleash this beast in the backyard. He orders the Slime King to attack, and it unleashes absolute devastation on the orcs. Ignis starts hyperventilating because the number of orcs is basically disaster level, so Tuji tosses Pochi at her to calm her down. The King Slime bounces around, smashing orcs left and right. Tuji watches the carnage and starts worrying because Kamon looks like he is enjoying himself way too much. In a few moments the massacre is over, and the orcs are defeated. The Orc King finally shows up to attack Kamon. Tuji gets nervous, but he doesn't need to be. The Orc King's attack does absolutely nothing, and Kamon strikes back with force, ending him instantly. Kamon loved the fight and asks for seconds, but Tuji decides that is enough violence for one day. Toji decides to waste time making a new wand for Ignis instead of destroying everyone, and thanks Kamon for saving their lives. Then, like the greedy rat he is, Toji scurries around collecting all the loot drops before heading back. The next day, Tuji wonders what to do because King Kamon's rampage left him with a massive mountain of orc corpses. He isn't expected to defeat that many orcs at once, so reporting this massacre would definitely look suspicious, and right now he has way too much ground pork on his hands. Ignis told him that orcs are basically just ugly farm animals, and nothing more than a food source. These beasts kill the males and assault the females to breed, so it was lucky Tuji arrived before the situation turned into a bad adult comic. People hunt orcs for food and parts, but Tuji is still unsure if eating them is morally okay. Besides the meat, there wasn't anything left after King Kamon finished his destruction. The Orc King's body survived a bit, so Ignis snatched his balls for medicinal purposes, which is a detail I didn't need to know. Pochi wants to cook the orc bodies, but Tuji is against serving humanoid BBQ. Pochi had been watching the restaurant owner too much, so now the dog thinks he can cook. Tuji remembers that in the game, monster bodies could be dismantled into materials, so he wonders if he can do the same with the orc bodies rotting in his storage. He can turn them into meat or other materials. He chooses meat, and an ordinary slab drops right in front of him, saving him a trip to the market, so he converts the rest. He calls for Pochi, but gets ghosted. Tuji figures Pochi is probably busy cooking somewhere. Tuji goes to the restaurant and is surprised to see the shop in top shape. The owner explains that Pochi is helping with the noon rush, and people absolutely love the dog's cooking. The owner even increased the counter seats because his rice bowls are finally popular. It works just like fast food in Tuji's old world. Pay first, get served first. Even the shop's name has been changed to Donbury Pine. Seeing Pochi cook, Tuji gets worried and asks where he got the meat for these dishes. The shop owner asks the same thing, noting that the mystery meat tastes extremely good. The owner thanks them for the help, saying his son isn't worried anymore because the rice is finally selling. Tuji thinks it was worth it since the man is lucky to have a son who cares about his future, unlike Tuji who has nobody. Hearing everyone happy, Tuji decides to forget the minor cannibalism details and just enjoy the food and his life here. He thinks about the other heroes training in dungeons at high levels, while he takes things slow and steady. At the guild, Tuji finally gets promoted to D rank for his accomplishments. After being a luggage carrier for D rankers, he is now finally one himself, hitting level 30 and boosting his crafting skills too. Tuji gets excited because he is close to C rank, so he gladly accepts his first D rank quest. Pochi cooks up a tonkatsu so godlike that Ignis immediately starts questioning reality, but Toji dodges the question because he is just thankful his dog makes his miserable life livable. The other soldiers smell the glory, and Pochi ends up becoming the station's master chef, proving animals are just better than people. The next day, Toji hits manufacturing level 30 and unlocks a blatant pay-to-win mechanic called Special Enhancement, which requires cold hard cash to work. He tests this wallet-draining skill on a sword and gets results that would make any C-ranker drool with envy. He only stops because he hits the enhancement cap. The higher the level, the better the stats. But the cost is absolute robbery, reaching 20 million kettles for high levels with a trash success rate. Pochi brings a teriyaki sandwich while Toji stresses over the inefficiency of farming strengthening scrolls, which are drop-only items. Pochi looks sad, so Tuji decides to take him to Donburi Pine, but on the way he spots a bookstore selling propaganda about the Dapuri harem losers. He is surprised the kingdom is spending so much money to polish these turds despite their bad reputation. Tuji has a big brain moment. If he can dismantle orcs into meat, surely he can dismantle these trash books into paper. He tests it and successfully converts the literature into blank sheets. Since higher alchemy needs more materials, he decides to speed level his alchemy to use cheap scrolls. He buys every single copy of the hero legends to shred them for materials, feeling zero guilt because the books are about useless people anyway. Later, a massive crowd gathers at the guild for an urgent quest regarding a monster stampede caused by those same idiots. Tuji sees a massive opportunity for profit in this disaster, and signs up for the subjugation party immediately. Later at the party camp, our trash-tier protagonist Tuji is shaking in his boots because he realized he is actually on a battlefield. The only reason this coward volunteered for the front lines is because he is a loot goblin who wanted the drop items. Tuji overhears Ignis and her dysfunctional harem party screaming at each other like a bad reality TV show. They want her to rejoin the squad, but Ignis refuses because those losers dragged her down from C rank to D rank. A real team shares rewards and work, but Ignis was carrying the whole team while getting paid in exposure, and to really twist the knife, she admits she hated Frey's parents' bread the entire time. Ignis hates people who can't take a hint, so she storms over to Tuji. She sits next to Golio and makes small talk, probably hoping the rock monster is a better listener. Golio draws on the ground to joke that she is lonely, but she immediately activates her tsundere mode. Pochi brings Ignis soup, and she tips him, proving the dog has more riz than the MC. Tuji remembers the guards paying good money for Pochi's cooking earlier, and decides he should just exploit the dog to open a diner. Ignis's ex-party glares at Tuji, so he decides to stay clear of the drama. The next day, the fighting starts, but everyone treats this subjugation like a fun festival instead of a war, and Tuji gets overexcited seeing all the shiny drops on the floor. A man gets injured, and Pochi, the ruthless businessman, rushes over to sell him cheap recovery potions. A wyvern appears, prompting the B-rank ironclad raiders to step up, but right before they charge, Tuji tries to sell them potions mid-fight like a telemarketer. He is just trying to stick to the high-ranked chads to leech their XP. Tuji spent the entire day selling potions and scavenging drops like a rat, and by the end most monsters were dead. It was a great day as Tuji hit level 36 and grabbed a massive haul of loot, but unfortunately Ignis overhears his greedy mumbling and gets curious. Luckily she doesn't care and just thanks him, while Tuji feels guilty because he literally just ran around stealing loot and scalping potions. The first day gives him hope that he might actually survive this scam. Stampede monsters are dangerous and frontline adventurers usually die like flies, but someone has to do the dirty work, or the village gets wiped. Ignis admits she was basically AFK during the first day, but is determined to actually try now. She is hyped to make money and claw her way back to C rank. She was a solo queen before joining Bray's loser squad and ruining her stats. This stampede is her ticket back to the top, especially with the new staff she bought using money from selling orc balls, which is still a disturbing detail. Ignis leaves Tuji to go do actual work. Tuji is jealous because she can level up legitimately, while he has to rely on his broken cheat codes. Ignis gets along with Golem, but Tuji knows the rock brain is just a tank while he is a support healer. The stampede lasted 4 days and miraculously ended with 0 casualties while Tuji profited like a corrupt CEO. He made over 100 million kekels, reached level 39 and drowned in loot drops. He is so loaded he considers anonymously donating to the poor parties he leached experience from. For today he decides to focus on dismantling all the trash duplicate drops. He cannot enhance these basic drops, so breaking them down is the only option. Tuji finds an item with an Excel effect which boosts all stats per diamond level, but it is a total money pit. The success rate drops to 50% after level 8, meaning he will just burn cash. It is too complicated for his brain, so he keeps the good stuff, dismantles the junk, and takes a nap. Afterwards, he wakes Pochi and goes hunting for food. On the way, he meets a shady merchant selling a magic kitchen allegedly made from dungeon artifacts. The shopkeeper shows off the features, and Tuji is easily impressed. The device usually sells for 20 million kettles, but the guy offers a discount to 5 million. Tuji wonders if he really needs this overpriced toaster. Seeing him hesitate, the man offers an installment plan. This makes Tuji want to refuse, but Pochi gives him the puppy eyes, so he decides to buy it. Before he can get scammed, Meyer swoops in and stops him. She accuses the man of running a fraud operation. Meyer instantly spots that the kitchen is a low-quality foreign knockoff and not a dungeon artifact. Tuji is shocked. He almost got played so hard. The man smugly claims he is a member of the Albert family business and threatens to ban her from the guild because he knows the CEO Sekai Albert. Meyer calmly asks his name, and he reveals he is Vaj and tells her to get lost. Meyer leaves with a smile, dragging Tuji along. Taji is wetting himself over the threats, but Meyer is calm because she is literally the blood daughter of Sekai Albert. Threatening her is enough to get that idiot permanently banned, which terrifies even Toji. Toji was willing to burn cash for Pochi's cooking hobby. This impresses Meyer, so she excitedly invites Pochi to her place to cook for them, effectively ignoring the protagonist. Meyer is desperate to taste Pochi's cooking herself, so she lets him use her high-end kitchen. The house cook prepares to work, but she shuts him down, letting him know that the dog will be the one cooking today. The chef is confused, but she assures him Pochi is a kobold who can cook well. The equipment is too new for Pochi, so he gets confused. Tuji asks the chef to show Pochi the ropes, since they have never seen a kitchen this fancy. Meyer explains that magic kitchen equipment is just based on discovered artifacts, but Tuji is clueless about artifacts too because he probably skipped the tutorial. Meyer jokes that it is no wonder he almost got scammed earlier. She explains that artifacts are ancient devices created by sages, and modern tech is just inferior copies since nobody can recreate the originals. Artifacts were national treasures until the northern nation of Gillis started a magical revolution. The copies were cheap trash, so naturally they became popular. Meyer asks if Tuji is interested in them since new devices make tons of money, which makes our greedy protagonist want to visit that nation immediately. Later, Pochi brings out food so tasty it impresses even Meyer. Even the chef is stunned by Pochi's skills. Tuji takes one bite, gets captivated, and gobbles down the rest like a pig. Meyer and the chef eat like crazy too and demand to know where he learned to cook. Pochi explains he learned by watching the owner of Donbury Pine. Meyer remembers that place was failing until it suddenly started thriving. Toji explains it is because he frequents the place, and Pochi carries the kitchen staff. Meyer asks Toji to go shopping and he agrees. She plans to buy the best magic kitchen equipment for Pochi as thanks, which makes the dog very happy. The kitchen costs a staggering 300 million kettles, but thanks to Toji's war profiteering he can easily afford it. Pochi wants to store the kitchen in the item box, but Toji explains he can only store the food, not the appliances. He gives Pochi some head pats, and realizes he needs to buy a massive amount of ingredients now. A few days later, Tuji is out scouring for raw ores near a mine 3 days' journey from the city because apparently he needs a hobby. He needs rare minerals for his crafting, and naturally his broken skills let him exploit even the exhausted veins that normal people ignore like trash. Suddenly a wild monster appears to ruin the vibe, but Pochi, strapped with a custom Tuji-made crossbow, deletes it instantly from existence. Tuji has effectively turned his summons into a paramilitary death squad with his overpowered crafting skills. Collect the bird is the eye in the sky, preventing ambushes and, more importantly, sniffing out high-level ores and valuable gems like a flying metal detector. Collect spots a cave with suspicious steps, and Tuji realizes with a sinking feeling that it is a dungeon. His map function confirms it. This is their first legitimate dungeon crawl. Tuji, being a cautious coward, thinks they should bail immediately since dungeon mobs are usually tougher than wild ones. But then they see goblins literally running away in terror, only to get gunned down by Pochi anyway. Seeing this pathetic display, Tuji figures it is a new dungeon, shallow, weak monsters, and potentially loaded with easy treasure. He puts on a cloak just in case, pretending to be careful while drooling over the loot potential. Collect points out a wall, and Tuji digs in to find gold and mithril ore just sitting there waiting to be exploited. Collect keeps finding more loot, and the gang spends hours digging, making absolutely impressive bank. Finally, they reach the massive door to the boss room, but Tuji decides priorities come first. It is lunchtime. While they set the table for a picnic in the dungeon, a mysterious humanoid creature stalks them from the shadows. Once again, Tuji and the crew are drooling over the food porn presentation, but before they can even take a bite, a tiny little person is already stuffing her belly. This pint-sized woman turns out to be the dungeon core herself. Hearing this, Tuji realizes she might be the boss, and immediately orders his summons to smash the cute girl flat. The woman screams that she comes in peace, but Tuji is not listening and tells Golio to finish the job until she desperation drops the magic word Orichalcum. Tuji hits the brakes instantly. Orichalcum is the strongest and most valuable ore in existence, and items made from it are in high demand. He did not think a trash dungeon like this would drop endgame loot, so he decides to sit down for a civilized chat. The woman is enjoying Pochi's cooking so much she completely forgets the plot exposition. She has been hoarding the ore since the dungeon was born, and is willing to fork it over, but first she has to test if he is worthy. She explains the main guardian lives behind the door, and if Tuji can defeat it, the Orichalcum is his. Tuji is surprised to find out this girl is just a remote avatar, and the real body is locked behind the door with the boss. She wanted to touch grass, so she projected her mind out, but now her own security system does not recognize her, and will kill her if she tries to go back in. She used the Orichalcum to build a super guardian, and now it is so broken that even she cannot nerf it. Hearing this, Tuji decides to nope out and head home, but she stops him. He explains he is only a D-rank scrub, and will come back after grinding levels, but she whines that her projection magic is fading and she will be stuck. Tuji asks why being a core is bad since that is her job, but she explains she dumped all her mana into the guardian, so if she does not reclaim her power, she is trapped in the basement eternally. Pochi and Golem give him the puppy eyes, so Tuji sighs and agrees to help to clear his conscience. She thanks him and waits behind while Tuji enters the boss room, only to be shocked when he finds the monster is a giant Orichalcum golem knight. Tuji stares at the massive knight, utterly confused on how to deal with this mess, while Collecta's treasure sense goes off like a slot machine. But sadly, the murder robot takes priority. Since he is limited to 3 summons like a free-to-play user, he swaps out the bird for his heavy hitter, King Kamon. Unexpectedly, even the Slime King freezes up and writes a pathetic note claiming he is too weak to fight this thing. Tuji realizes hope is dead and decides the best strategy is to bravely run away. But wait, Kamon scribbles another message saying he will get wrecked solo, but with the power of friendship and help he might win. Tuji gets hyped and cooks up a plan, ordering Pochi and Golio to use that expensive kitchen set to waterboard King Kamon until he gets soul. The knight attacks, but Kamon tanks it with 0 damage thanks to some broken 1-second invincibility frame cheat. Kamon jumps up and body slams the knight, bringing it down in a single strike. The girl returns to explain that Orichalcum tanks hits easily, and since it is leeching power from her core, it has infinite battery life. Hearing this, Tuji asks if she knows the weak spot, or if they are just screwed. She explains the weak spot is the chest emblem, but breaking it requires penetrating inches of Orichalcum, so good luck with that. Kamon spams attacks while Tuji and the gang desperately throw water on him to keep his size up like a water balloon. The knight gets knocked down, but Kamon is exhausted and has shrunk down to be smaller than the dog. The dust settles, but the fight isn't over because the nucleus is only damaged, allowing the guardian to self-repair like a cheap video game boss. Tuji digs through his inventory looking for a game-breaking item to stop the regeneration. He finds something useful, throws it at Kamon, and screams for everyone to get back as the Slime King breaks his limiter and awakens his true massive power. The knight tries to punch the now massive King Kamon, but his attacks have no effect. Tuji's giant elixir appears to be working well, lasting only 10 seconds but boosting size and abilities by 10 times without needing hydration. The knight's attacks are useless. Meanwhile, Kamon attacks once and sends it flying away like a ragdoll. Kamon jumps up and unleashes his massive Megaton slime fist, smashing the knight to pieces. The fight ends well, so Tuji stuffs Kamon back into the book. There is a lot of loot lying around, and Tuji thinks that hitting the body of the guardian is basically the same as digging around a mine. While Tuji stands next to the body, the woman jokes that the body is too big for him to handle, so he should just leave it there. But Tuji yoinks it into his inventory with ease, surprising her. Tuji talks about leaving, which makes her sad, but she still offers safe passage back to the entrance. She suggests taking the shortcut as the original way would be too much of a hassle and teleports them back outside. Tuji points out she could have used this power earlier to teleport herself to the core, but she makes a lame excuse that her resources were mostly being used to power up the guardian. While Tuji leaves, the girl tells him to come back anytime he wants more materials, since she has lots of free time. At first, Tuji thinks about declining since he almost lost his life this time, but seeing her sad face, he changes his mind and agrees to return. Tuji has now finally completed his first dungeon exploration, which was something to say the least, but this may be the last time he ever visits a dungeon. Tuji takes inventory of the dungeon loot and is practically drooling over the high-level drops he scored. He finds a belt and pendant set that must be equipped together to trigger the bonus, which conveniently stacks because this world is broken. Since the dungeon run, he has been grinding his crafting skills. Dismantling the Guardian gave his manufacturing a massive boost, but he still has to pretend to be a functioning member of society at the guild. On the way, Pochi hands him some jerky. Tuji eats it and loves it, but has no clue what meat it is. Probably best not to ask considering the recent orc massacre. The receptionist asks if he has party experience, and he admits he only teamed up during the Stampede. She explains he is up for a C-rank promotion, so he needs to pass a party test. C-rank is a big deal for getting harder quests and better rewards, and since groups have higher success rates, this is a test of his ability to tolerate other people. Becoming C rank improves his social standing, so 2G accepts. She explains an inspector will evaluate him, and if he passes, she will be proud, which is the only validation he is getting today. On test day, 2G waits at the gate. The goal is to scout monsters scattered after the Stampede. Ignis shows up because she is also taking the exam. They make small talk, and she jokes that since it is her second time, it will be fine. Another candidate is already cursing about the bad pay. The inspector explains it is a 3-day trip and tells them to mingle. They decide to introduce themselves. Graze is a level 37 warrior who grabs the female attention immediately. The archer Node shyly introduces himself as a scout. The woman thinks Node is cute, which makes him happy. This hyperactive girl is Erica, a healer specializing in recovery magic. 2G pegs her as the basic bubbly healer, but at least she is level 29. Ignis introduces herself as a level 46, catching Erica's eye. Erica immediately teases her about being demoted, sparking a catfight rivalry. Thanks to the dungeon, 2G is actually level 51, but he has learned his lesson and lies, introducing himself as a level 35 summoner. Everyone ignores him for the pretty girl until Grails remembers his broken golem tank. Finally, there is Gary, a grumpy level 47, who demands to be leader just because he is strong. Hearing this, 2G knows this exam is going to be a disaster. Toji starts having flashbacks to his gaming days. He remembers the worst kind of players in the lobby, the party crushers. These are the toxic trolls who join a team just to ruin the run for everyone else. Back in the present, Gary is trying way too hard to be the main character. He names the team Alame, calling them Hit. He then starts yapping about how they need to be ready to eat worms and bugs to survive if they run out of food. Bro thinks he's Bear Grylls, but he's just annoying. Everyone finds him annoying, but they have to put up with his nonsense with no choice. Gary checks everyone's inventory, and of course 2G is prepared because he's built different, but he decides not to use his magic pouch for the sake of the exam. But Erica brought absolutely nothing. No food, no supplies. She gets roasted by Gary, and she immediately plays the victim card. Gary keeps on scolding them, calling them failures because of 2 lazy members, and then they decide to head out. Gary is obsessed with his pocket watch, checking it every 5 seconds like he's late for a date with destiny. He's micromanaging the whole exam, and 2G is stuck listening to Erica's non-stop complaints, but he needs to put up with her insufferable yapping for some time. They set up camp, and Gary cooks a stew that looks like it would give you instant food poisoning. After they eat, Ignale warns the others to be careful around Erica because her vibes are off. She has heard the rumors about her. Erica isn't just useless, she's a party crusher. She's an op sent to make them fail the exam intentionally. People actually do this for money, or just because they enjoy watching others suffer. 2G realizes his chances of ranking up are getting cooked. He wonders if he should just use his powers of plot armor and help everyone pass the exam. Suddenly Node walks out and offers to sit by the fire. He then explains that Graze and Erica woke up and ran away. Now they need to find those two. Toji instantly finds Erica and Graze getting freaky in some nearby bushes, which is some dedication because they're in the middle of an exam. The group realizes what is going on and sits at the campfire to just avoid the 2 frisky members. Node realizes that he will forever stay a virgin, so he might as well just solo travel since he doesn't want to touch any ladies. The others try to help him cope because not everyone is this needy or desperate. Even the next day, things remain the same. Gary realizes that he lost his pocket watch and Erica is soon by his side to taunt him. The others just watch the scene unfold because they've already dealt with Erica's nonsense for the past 24 hours. This might just be karma, because how else could you get such horrendous people in a group? 2G knows this isn't his bad luck, because all he was a no-lifer shut-in who played games all day. Gary just tries to move on from his watch, but Erica keeps pressing his buttons, wondering if he is truly capable of being a leader, but all she is doing is rage-baiting the poor man. Gary realizes that Erica stole his watch because she is the only one being weird about it, but Erica jumps to her defense. She plays the victim card and uses Graze as a shield to protect herself, even lifting his balls because he is the true leader in her eyes. Graze immediately folds for Erica, but all he needs to do is touch some grass. Gary tries to talk some sense into him because just like you guys, he has lost his mind for a quickie. Erica pulls out the watch and shows it off to Gary, who begs her for his precious heirloom back. But Erica the clever witch makes him admit that Graze is the new leader, and that is how Gary turned into a sock boy who carries everyone's bags as the 2 lovebirds take the lead. Ignale threatens to light them both on fire, but 2G simply advises to file a complaint against them both. Once this mess is over, Gary tells the 2 that the place where they are headed has a swarm of lizardmen, and even the guild has told everyone to stay away, but it seems Erica is leading them all to their doom. This shows that Gary was the perfect leader who wanted to keep everyone safe and finish the exam efficiently. At the sight of the water, Erica ditches her clothes and makes a sprint while everyone just watches her get off. Ignale tries to comfort the group, but Gary thinks that this is all his fault. The 2 try to help him come over his depressive episode as they motivate him one by one. With the power of friendship, Gary even apologizes to everyone for being rude in the beginning of the quest. Suddenly, a flame goes into the sky as the others wonder if Ignil really did set the two lovebirds on fire. In the water pool, Ignil protects the two lovers from the monsters hidden in the water. The others notice the commotion and jump in to save them, mainly because they just want Gary's watch back, which Erica has protected a bit too nicely. Once they get the watch, they will leave because there are too many monsters here. Tuji knows that this is the perfect opportunity to humiliate the two idiots and teach them a good lesson. Instead of huge lizard monsters, some weird dolphin creatures pop out of the waters. These are called liver fins, which Tuji thinks is a name of some dish he had earlier. After a closer look, he realizes that his familiar betrayed him and fed him some disgusting grandpa fish's armpit hair. Soon, the lizardmen join in the pool, and finally the other two look like they're in a big deal of mess. Tuji messes with Erica and Graze because the two fearless leaders are now shaking in fear while they're in their birthday dresses. Erica starts talking trash and Tuji reminds her place, but then he gets an instant good boy check as Golio smacks his head. Tuji turns to Graze for some order because soon the two fish freak species will fight for territory. Graze himself has no idea what he is supposed to do, so as the good guys Gary and Tuji apologize first. This is a good power move, since they need Graze's massive gains to win a proper fight. Graze realizes what is wrong as he begs his girlfriend to return the watch. Erica sulks but gives in and removes the watch from her neck. Gary reaches for his watch, but at the last moment Erica tosses it aside in true woman fashion. The watch sinks in the pool as Tuji jumps in after it. Once he grabs the watch, the grandpa fish come at him. In one shot, Tuji shows them who the main character of this story is. King goes full tryhard mode, absorbing all the water in the area like a giant sponge. He turns the water into high-pressure jets and absolutely destroys the grandpa monsters. They didn't even stand a chance. King is literally making sushi out of them while Tuji just sits there watching the show. Tuji explains that King used division to create an army, so they aren't outnumbered anymore. Erica immediately switches up her attitude. She starts yapping about how terrible she was and how she never wanted to be that person. She is glazing Tuji so hard right now, trying to convince him she's one of the good ones. She gets real close, clinging to Tuji and praising his powerful summons like the kobold and golem. The party and Graze just watch her switch sides in the blink of an eye. Erica ignores them all and keeps putting the moves on Tuji, giving him the puppy dog eyes. She is desperate for that carry. Tuji doesn't even watch this proximity, so he begs someone to save him from this freak. But King is not having it. He's staring at her with pure malice. Tuji tries to warn her that King is a battle junkie who gets salty when he's summoned for no reason or weak enemies. Before Tuji can finish explaining, King launches himself and latches onto her face. Tuji has to physically restrain his own summon, yelling at him not to straight up end her. Tuji finally pries King off, leaving the girl traumatized and covered in slime. She is not having a good time. Deserved. Before she can scream at Tuji, King shoots a slime ball at her. Tuji hoots for King to teach her a good lesson. Graze tries to save his loser girlfriend who totally went for a guy with more powerful weapons, but a lizard man smacks in him as he faints. The others just watch Erica suffer because the girl had it coming. Karma works in mysterious ways, and this is the best one so far. Tuji returns Gary's watch, who thanks him for all his help. Gary decides that he will not report this incident with the monsters to the guild, just to keep Tuji and his powers safe. The only problem is, who will stop the two lovebirds from telling the entire world about Tuji and who he really is? Erica glares at the group with a look that says that she will get rid of them all. Erica is absolutely crashing out, threatening to report the entire squad for attempted harm, especially calling out King Slime. She screams that she's the only one getting promoted while the rest of them stay D-rank garbage. She even throws shade at the fire sorceress, accusing her of sleeping her way to C rank, which is a pretty bold accusation. She thinks she's untouchable, but she's about to get a reality check because Ignil plans on making healer barbecue tonight. Suddenly, an unexpected ally pulls up. It's the guild receptionist, Leslie. But it turns out Leslie isn't just a receptionist. She's secretly a guild examiner with the authority to arrest criminals. She was undercover to catch corrupt members yapping and breaking rules. Leslie declares that Tuji and his crew are innocent, and clears them of any trouble. Erica tries to play the victim card, claiming Tuji's dangerous monster almost unalived her. Leslie shuts that down immediately, announcing that the healer has officially failed the exam. Meanwhile, the main squad passed and secured the bag. She starts crying about her 30 years of hard work, but nobody cares. In the end, Erica really was the rumored party crusher that was hired by the guild itself to make the exam harder, but she didn't expect an honest examiner like Leslie to blow the lid on their conspiracy. Erica and her rogue faction got expelled and sent to hard labor. To make matters worse, their former victims found them and jumped them. Talk about bad karma. A few days later, Tuji and Ignil are celebrating their return to C rank with some cake. Tuji is feeling awkward because Ignil is the first girl he's ever had in his room. Ignil is exhausted from the exam, while Pochi and Golio handle the snacks. Ignil accidentally drops her staff, and Tuji takes a look at the stats. He is shook because the stats on this spirit wand of the Great Flame are absolutely broken. It has superior spiritual affinity and weapon growth, which is some legendary tier loot. Toji calculates the upgrade costs and realizes someone spent millions of kettles on this thing. Toji starts geeking out over the spirit attribute that boosts intelligence and mana. Seeing such an incredible weapon reignites his passion for crafting. He vows to make something just as cracked someday. Toji realizes this item is actually legendary class and it has a growth function, meaning the weapon literally levels up alongside the user. That is some serious pay-to-win gear right there. He asks where she got the staff from, but Ignil had no idea she was holding such a broken item. She says it was a keepsake from her mother that she once had to pawn and buy back. Toji explains the stats and Ignil is just happy she didn't stick with the cheap replacement wand she broke earlier. She then gets a little too comfortable and asks how Golio looks in a pink frilly dress because she dressed her up. Toji forces out a compliment because this girl can't be real, and she settles for also taking Golio on a shopping trip next time. Toji regrets this idea immediately because the last thing he wants to see on his golem is a princess dress, because even moving this massive beast takes up his energy. But he gives in for the sake of the only women in his life. The squad arrives at a remote rest stop to deliver supplies. The man at the gate greets him, but Toji has an ulterior motive. He's actually here to farm fairy berries and ultra-purified water to craft a legendary elixir. Since they are camping in a high-level zone, Toji uses Golio as a sentry because golems have infinite stamina and don't need sleep. The party runs into a pack of wild kobolds. Toji tries to be considerate, asking Pochi if he wants to sit this one out, since they are his own kind. But Pochi doesn't hesitate. He starts blasting them with his crossbow immediately. Pochi hits him with a hard-boiled speech about survival of the fittest, declaring that he's built different from those wild NPCs. Pochi explains that he needs to grind XP and get stronger to stay by his master's side. He basically treated the wild kobolds like a farming simulator, sniping them left and right. He believes that if ending his own kind will get him power, then he will do it. But Toji cannot believe that his cute little pet can turn into a whole powerful weapon of war. Thanks to Pochi's hunting spree, Toji now has a massive stack of kobold summon cards in his inventory. Toji realizes he has enough resources to trigger an evolution. Pochi is about to get a massive buff. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a massive W in the chat because Pochi just hit a legendary power spike. My boy evolved from a normal to a unique grade, and his stats are looking absolutely broken. He unlocked a new passive ability that boosts kettle drops by 50%, which means Toji is about to be infinitely rich. They already farmed 500 cards and secured over 13 million kettles. Bro is literally printing money. Toji tries to chill at the diner, which is empty, thinking he can relax, and he also decides to let Pochi cook. Literally, Pochi whips up some high-tier curry with rice, and the smell is so good it should be illegal. Toji takes one bite and immediately starts glazing Pochi, calling him the absolute best. Suddenly a horde of hungry guard NPCs spawns in because they smelled the food from a mile away. Even the next morning, Pochi ends up feeding the entire lobby, proving he has infinite aura. Toji gets down to have some breakfast as he chats up with the guards. He asks the guards about the fairy berries and ultra-purified water he needs for his quest. The guards claim that they have seen the berries on patrol, which makes Toji really happy since that is one out of the 2 items he needs for his magic elixir. One guard starts yapping about how dangerous the area is, claiming he barely escaped with his life because of hallucinations. He says the fairies get big mad if you touch their berries and will absolutely fold you. The guard drops some alpha regarding Ita berries, a sour fruit that clears your head and stops the hallucinations. Toji thanks the NPC for the lore drop and heads into the forest. Toji finds a spring, but his collector skill hits him with the nope, this isn't the ultra pure stuff. He keeps walking until his system suddenly starts pinging near some random bushes. A wild prompt appears asking whether or not he would like to collect the item. Something suspicious is hiding in the bushes, and Toji is about to find out if he's cooked or if he just found the jackpot. Toji immediately finds the fairy berries with the help of a little thing called plot armor, but he doesn't see any fairies near the bushes. He even confirms from Pochi if he smells any fairies, but realizes how stupid this is because Pochi has never seen any fairies either. He makes his move to find some good pure water. Suddenly he notices something wrapped around his foot. Just then he is yanked backwards through the maze of bushes. Pochi immediately runs to help him cut loose, but he too is caught in some vines that drag him away. Soon both of them along with a few other animals are caught in a trap set by some carnivorous plant, which oddly looks like another sussy Pokemon. Looking around, Toji realizes that even the fairies have been caught by this sus-looking plant. This gives him the ingenious idea to free the fairies so they can guide him to the ultra-pure water source. Pochi tries to shoot the body of the plant with his arrows, but the plant shakes him hard. The only thing that can save them now is a level 120 monster. As if right on cue, Golio walks in sight. Toji commands her to smash the plant with her hammer. The plant drops everyone and focuses on wrapping its vines around Goleo. In the heat of the battle, Toji accidentally calls Goleo a fatty, which earns him a threatening hammer, and he immediately folds. He then motivates her to end the stupid Pokemon wannabe with her almighty Hulk smash. Toji and Golio roll up on the fairies, who are looking absolutely clapped on the ground. 2G tries to figure out if they need HP potions but realizes their MP bars are just completely empty. Suddenly they start rebooting. One of the fairies, this little guy named Ricky, wakes up and immediately chooses violence. He starts yapping about stupid killer plant and freaking out because he sees a human. Bro is acting like 2G didn't just carry them through the raid. But then 2G pulls out the ultimate weapon, Pochi's cooking. Ricky tries to keep hating, but the smell of those cookies hits him like a flashbang. One bite and he switches up immediately, glazing Pochi's culinary skills. Pochi just sits there looking smug because he knows he's the MVP. The fairy leader, Rowan, new waifu alert, steps in and actually has some manners. She tells 2G that they can't be friends, but Ricky immediately starts offering them cookies as the others try to tell him not to get chummy with a human. Even Rowan joins in and drinks Pochi's special tea and admits it's very nice. 2G uses this chance to ask about the berry bush, confirming he isn't just a loot goblin trying to steal their stuff. Rowan is shocked that a human is actually asking for permission instead of just ripping their wings off for crafting materials. She admits that humans usually hunt them for sport, which is a major red flag. Instead of letting 2G take a few berries, Rowan starts crying about how much she and her fairies need those berries to survive. 2G, being the gentleman he is, asks about the ultra-pure water. Rowan looks at him like he just leaked the coordinates to their secret base. "How could a human know of our secret?" she asks, completely shook. She drops the bad news. Their paradise is currently getting spawn-camped by a terrible monster. Apparently this boss monster kicked them out of their own lobby. It's immune to their magic, so their attacks do 0 damage. It's called the Fairy Eater and it looks like a giant disgusting leech that swallowed a Discord mod. It loves to prey on fairies, so the squad is gonna have to deal with this ugly thing if they want that water. Looks like 2G is about to enter a boss fight. So here's the lore drop. The fairies were living their best life in an ultimate paradise with infinite ultra-pure water. But then some troll named Loki, literally named after the god of mischief, decided to grief the server and summoned a boss monster. This Fairy Eater is basically using cheats. It's immune to magic and has auto-heal hacks. If the fairies try to fight it, they do 0 damage. It's actually tragic. Toby finds out this gluttonous worm is eating the fairies, the berries, and the expensive water. Bro realizes that if he doesn't step in, his potential fortune is going down the drain. Toby decides to lock in and save the day, mostly because he wants that sweet, sweet loot. Rowan promises him unlimited berries and water if he clutches this 1v1. Say less, my queen. Toby is already accepting the quest. In return for his heroic deeds, Rowan will teach him how to make ultra-pure water even more pure, which he will be able to learn quickly thanks to his cheat skill. The entire fairy squad decides to stop being toxic and join the raid party. 2G introduces Golio as the team's tank. The fairies are skeptical because they usually get hunted by humans, but they're desperate for a carry. 2G asks if they can use weapons, and they admit they only know how to cast spells with their hands. Typical mage build, 0 physical stats. 2G realizes he has to do all the heavy lifting. The squad rolls up on the boss and this thing is massive. It's currently in a food coma, sleeping off a berry feast. The fairies mock him, asking how he even plans to defeat a beast this big. 2G decides to wake it up with violence. He calls upon the goat, Pochi, to start the encounter. He yells at Pochi to start firing at the beast, and Pochi starts spraying like he's playing Call of Duty. Pochi unleashes a hail of bolts, and 2G starts flexing his crafting skills. He reveals these aren't normal arrows. They can pierce level 120 monster hides. The Fairy Eater wakes up screaming, realizing it has absolutely no plot armor. It is getting absolutely cooked. 2G grins and announces he's about to reveal his secret strategy. This worm is about to find out why you don't mess with a crafter who has infinite budget. The raid boss battle kicks off, with the fairies running away, and 2G orders Pochi to just hold down the trigger and spam attacks at the ugly worm. The Fairy Eater tries to rush them, but 2G plays his trump card Golio, the absolute unit. Golio steps up and delivers a left-right goodnight combo, smashing the worm into the ground with 0 hesitation. The monster gets folded like fresh laundry. She grabs the worm and tears it into many tiny pieces. 2G sinks his sword in and finishes the worm. The fairies are losing their minds, chanting "All hail the Fairy Eater Slayer," officially glazing Golio as the new main character. 2G is just happy the quest is over so he can finally loot the fairy berries and that sweet, sweet ultra-pure water. He reminds Rowan about their deal to learn the secret water crafting technique, but she insists on throwing a party first. Mandatory unskippable cutscene, the feast. Rowan brings out breadfruit, which apparently tastes like toast and jam, but Pochi looks at it and says, "Let me cook." Pochi starts peeling, cutting, and deep frying the fruit like he's running a Michelin star kitchen in the middle of the jungle. He coats it in honey and soy sauce, turning a basic fruit into Daigaku Imo, also known as candied sweet potatoes. This dog is literally a better chef than Gordon Ramsay. The fairies take one bite, and their taste buds ascend to a higher plane of existence. They can't believe frying something in oil makes it taste better. Welcome to the modern world, guys. But then the smell of Pochi's legendary cooking attracts a new challenger. It's Loki, the troll who started this whole mess, lurking in the bushes like a stream sniper. Bro really came back just to leech off the food. The audacity is wild. The squad catches Loki lacking in the bushes. The fairies immediately press him because this clown is the one who combat logged as soon as the boss fight started. Loki tries to cap, saying he came back because he was worried, but nobody is buying his story. The fairies start roasting him. They warned him not to aggro the fairy eater, but he didn't listen and nearly got the whole lobby wiped. Loki starts yapping about how their paradise was boring and he just wanted some content. Rowan has absolutely zero chill. She tells him if he wants excitement so bad he can go touch grass in the outside world forever. She hits him with the permanent ban hammer. He is exiled from the server. Loki tries to pull the "it is just a prank bro" defense. He was just a prank bro. Defense. He is down bad, begging them not to kick him. The fairies are chanting "get out." Loki gets desperate and tries to glaze Tuji, calling him a nice guy and asking for a bro-to-bro favor. The MC refuses to simp for this troublemaker. He tells Loki he isn't getting involved in this drama. Rowan warns him not to interfere with the banishment or he'll catch strays too. Loki realizes he's cooked and calls everyone ingrates. After the drama, Tuji finally secures the bag. The fairies give him a sapling and water so he can farm his own berries. Infinite resource glitch unlocked. They also dump a bunch of coins and jewels on him because they think it's just trash cluttering the map. Tuji admits the quest was a grind, but the loot made it worth it. On the way back, Tuji and Golio spot Loki's drop items, which look like common drop items. He's no longer alive, and he's absolutely clapped by karma. Tuji decides it is best to ignore what happened, steal his drops and heads back to base. Back in the city, Tuji meets up with Meyer, the receptionist waifu. She's happy he got her DM. The MC drops the loot on the table, literally massive bags of money he got from the fairies. Meyer is shook by the sheer amount of currency, but then he drops some serious lore. He realizes the hero party are actually griefers. They caused the monster Stampede on purpose just to farm XP and level up. They are ruining the local ecosystem and destroying the economy just to boost their stats. These heroes are actually the toxic tryhards of the world. Toji and Meyer are back at the base, and Meyer is absolutely fuming. She's reading about the hero party in the newspaper, and it's not good news. These guys are supposed to be the chosen ones, but they are acting like absolute clowns. They caused a monster stampede, wiped out the local ecosystem, and crashed the economy just to farm XP. Toji realizes these heroes are just toxic players who don't care about the server. They are playing Grand Theft Auto while everyone else is playing Animal Crossing. But Tuji has bigger fish to fry. He's unloading crates of loot he crafted, and Meyer is shocked by the sheer volume. Is this a little too much, he asks, knowing full well he just crashed the market. Meyer is flabbergasted. He brought enough enchanted armor to equip a small army, and every single piece has automatic size adjustment. This is legendary tier crafting, and Tuji is selling it like it's discount merch. He's about to make bank. Then Tuji drops the real bomb. He shows Meyer a one-handed magic sword he made. It looks normal, but the stats are absolutely broken. It has a latent ability that increases strength by 5% per upgrade. Meyer does the math and realizes that if you max this thing out, it will have stats higher than a cheat code. She starts freaking out, asking if he realizes what he's done. Tuji starts acting like some nonchalant dude. He's so casual about breaking the game balance. It's actually hilarious. Meyer decides they have to sell this thing at a private auction because if they put it in a shop, a war might start. Later that night, Tuji returns to his room, but something is wrong. There's a random door in his wall that wasn't there before. He asks Pochi if he ordered a renovation, but the dog just shrugs. They fight about who will open the door but then decide to lure whatever is inside out with the smell of Pochi's amazing cooking. Following the smell, Juno walks out and Galeo immediately catches her under a blanket. Tuji looks at the little rascal wondering what he will do about her. Tuji is not happy. He demands to know why this woman is in his house. Juno is acting innocent, eating pancakes like nothing happened. Tuji tries to kick her out, but she hits him with the "I'm a dungeon core. I do what I want" attitude. Her reason for popping out of nowhere is that Tuji didn't visit, so she brought the dungeon to him. She explains that she can move the dungeon entrance anywhere she wants as long as there's a spot available. So now Tuji has a literal dungeon connected to his apartment. His landlord is definitely not going to be happy about this. Tuji tells her to remove the dungeon from his house, otherwise people will not stop bothering him. With some hesitance, Juno removes the dungeon, but she has other ideas too. Juno then drops a proposal to register her as one of his familiars. She wants to join the party. Tuji is hesitant because having a dungeon core as a pet sounds like a lot of paperwork. But Juno starts crying about how boring and lonely it is in the dungeon. She uses her ultimate move, puppy dog eyes. Tuji sighs. He can't say no to that face and hires her too. Juno cheers and officially joins Team Tuji. To prove her worth, Juno shows off her research. She used her dungeon creation powers to redecorate her room to look like a human apartment. She even made a fake kitchen and living room so Tuji would feel comfortable. It's actually really impressive, except for one thing. She collected a massive pile of treasure for him. It's a mountain of coins and jewels she looted from adventurers. Tuji's eyes turn into dollar signs. Bro just got a new waifu and infinite money. Life is good. As a thank you to Juno, he promises that as long as she stays, she will get a lifetime supply of pancakes all for free. She is now an official member of Team 2G. Thanks to Juno and her treasures, he doesn't need to farm for materials, and he gets a bonus room to store items in too. The next day, 2G asks the receptionist at the guild for new requests. He didn't really want any quests because he couldn't get even a wink of sleep. The kids kept partying all night, and as a responsible parent, he needed to make sure they were fine. Soon 2G, the others and Juno find themselves in a carriage to the quest area. The quest is to assist another adventurer team in wiping out a goblin settlement. It's located west of the city, and things are getting out of hand. 2G accepts, but he hates the ride there. They are stuck in a cramped carriage for over a day, and 2G is getting motion sickness. He'd rather be at home crafting OP gear than bouncing around in a wooden box. Juno, on the other hand, is loving it. She says she wants to see the outside world and find new ingredients for Pochi to cook. She's treating this war mission like a food tour. Suddenly, Juno does something insane just because 2G complains that he isn't comfortable. She opens a door inside the moving carriage. 2G freaks out because she just connected the dungeon to a moving vehicle. Juno is unfazed. She literally brought her house with her on the road trip. Now the squad can chill in luxury inside the dungeon instead of the cramped carriage. 2G is stunned but admits it's actually genius. He decides to use the downtime to craft more potions and gear because you can never be too prepared. The next day they arrive at the village, but something is wrong. The quest has been cancelled. 2G is confused. The village chief explains that another party already arrived and decided to take care of the goblins themselves. He basically tells 2G to go home because his familiars are too weak looking. Juno is pissed. She calls the chief a stupid baldy and refuses to let the insult slide. She wants revenge. She suggests sneaking into his house and plucking out his remaining hair. This girl is a menace to society. 2G calms her down and suggests they go look for raw materials instead. Suddenly 2G notices a bunch of goblins with some swords and sacks. Out of nowhere the goblins jump at 2G. Before he can command Pochi to fight, Galio swings the goblins away with her trusty hammer. Juno wonders what all this is about, and 2G explains that once you are equipped with his weapons, you can one-shot enemies. She realizes that this is how he took down her guards at the dungeon using King Bull, but that was something else totally. Toji picks up the loot and realizes that Juno cannot see the items. He gives her something to put on the dress, adjusts to her size, and gives her some OP stats too. Then he gives her some earrings that were made using Orihalcum from her guardian. He warns her to use the equipment sparingly, but Juno jumps in joy after receiving a gift for the first time. Toji notices that even though both his familiars are speedy, the number of goblin bodies does not match up with the speed. There are more than 100 drop loot items on the ground. Suddenly, a huge goblin pops out of nowhere and screams at Toji. A stray arrow lodges in his head, all thanks to our trusty companion Pochi, and the goblin falls. Following the trail of bodies, Toji and the others reach the goblin settlement, which looks way too fancy to be made by some stupid small-brained goblins. They find a hidden cave wondering if it is a trap. Soon, the cave leads them to three very familiar faces. It's Node, Gary, and Egniel, all tied up. Once Toji removes their face gags, they tell him that the village chief turned on them because they couldn't afford C-rank adventurers to save their butts. Toji realizes that even these guys are clueless, so he turns to his fire waifu Ignoil, who tells them that it was a hostage situation. There is another girl with the group from another country, but her friends were all turned into sacrifices by the goblins. She asks if there are a lot of goblin bodies outside, but then starts freaking out like some ex who realized you have moved on. She claims that the goblin bodies are the first omen of a terrifying monster, much worse than a goblin king. The squad is staring at a dark cave while this lunatic is yapping about how scary the monster is. She claims that compared to the boss inside, a goblin horde is mid. She's absolutely spiraling, saying she passes out just thinking about the nightmare. Bro, touch grass. You are ruining the vibes. Gary interrupts this doomer rant and asks Toji where she is taking them. Juno says they are far enough away from the goblin camp and tells them to chill. She opens a door in a literal tree. Secret base unlocked. Juno welcomes them to her mobile living space. She says it's way more cozy than camping outside like a hobo. She tells the frantic girl to calm down and enter the lobby. Pochi pulls up with a menu. Chef Pochi in the house. Toji asks if that's a menu, but everyone ignores him because they are starving. Everyone immediately starts ordering. Juno wants pancakes with honey. Another wants the grilled pork set. They are down bad for some food. The dishes drop and they look S tier. Node takes a bite and ascends. He says it's the first time he's had such a W meal, while Gary agrees that he could get hooked on the texture. Igniel questioning the spices because the flavor is immaculate. Pochi is cooking, literally and metaphorically. They pour drinks and cheer while Pochi looks smug, collecting those aura points. Everyone is chugging their drinks like they're at a frat party. Toji isn't surprised everyone loves the food. But then they ask him the dish of the day. Pochi learned that giant frog tongue can be used as a substitute for meat. It has a chewy texture that is addicting. He used spices to mask the fact that they are eating a monster. Sneak 100. Pochi looks nervous, sweating. Tuji realizes they are eating giant frog tongue and starts freaking out. He grabs Pochi and shakes him. He's pressed because Pochi didn't check before feeding them weird ingredients. Pochi is screaming for his life. Caught in 4K, Tuji realizes Pochi just covered the taste with spices. He is having flashbacks to when Ignile fed him orc meat. Trauma unlocked. Tuji decides to drop another bombshell. He reveals Juno is actually a dungeon core. They are basically inside a dungeon right now. The girls look confused, so he clarifies she isn't a fairy. The team screams because their flabbers are gasted. Node is speechless, but Tuji admits it's pretty unusual to be friends with a dungeon core. Tuji asks about the quest. He came here because of the guild request. Ignile explains the village chief cancelled the request. She calls him a stupid baldy burn. The chief claimed he already had adventurers, but Tuji never heard anything about a goblin king. Ignile is salty about the cancellation fee. She says he was trying to save money. Cheapskate behavior. Gary suggests maybe they sent multiple requests, which is inefficient. Tuji wonders if there's a good drop item, always thinking about the loot. Since it was cancelled, they couldn't do anything. Gary thinks maybe other adventurers offered a lower rate. The chief was definitely stingy. Ignile thanks Tuji for saving her again. She is glazing him, but Tuji is just happy he decided to stick around instead of going home. Good ending unlocked, but Ignile is still salty. She wants to make the bald chief pay. Juno suggests setting fire to what little hair he has left. Savage. Tuji has a bad feeling about this. These two are plotting together. Ignile says she and Juno are going to get along real well, but Tuji knows this duo is going to be toxic. Inside the base, the lunatic girl finally wakes up and immediately starts losing her marbles. She sees a golem and a kobold staring at her and thinks she's about to be spawn camped. She screams like she just saw her student loan debt. Tuji tells her to chill, but Ignile steps in. She explains she's safe in their lobby and that the monsters are actually his party members. She realizes Tuji clutched the rescue and busted them out of there. She drops the tragic backstory. Her whole squad got wiped by monsters. She says she was the only survivor, and the rest are all gone. Major L for her team. Her stomach growls. She is caught lacking. She introduces herself as Rodney, a researcher looking for ores. He hands her some food, but when she tries to ask questions, he tells her to just eat. The stew is made from armpit jelly of a liverant. Joke's on her, she's eating mystery meat. Rodney explains the boss monster that wrecked her team. It wasn't just a goblin king, it was a goblin necromancer. She says it's way more dangerous because of its low-level necromancy magic. It makes the goblin king look like a tutorial mob. The necromancer has an infinite respawn glitch. No matter how many times you defeat them, they just rise back up. Her security team got absolutely diffed by the undead horde. She says the only way to stop the respawn is to burn the bodies to ash or smash them completely. Otherwise, even severed heads will try to bite your ankles. Nightmare fuel. The necromancer cast a mortal army on the lobby. Tuji mentions Pochi already hit a 360 no-scope on the Goblin King, but Rodney says it doesn't matter because the necromancer will just revive him. Rodney is spiraling. She thinks they are cooked unless they leave the server immediately. The MC tries to explain that the Goblin King is in his item box, so he can't be revived, but she's too busy panicking to listen. Suddenly the banging on the door returns. It's another random encounter. Tuji steps outside because he can't let strangers see the dungeon interior. He's gatekeeping the base. It's an old man hunter, and he's on the ground gasping for air like he just ran a marathon without stamina potions. The old man says he saw something that made his blood run cold. He witnessed zombie goblins eating their own teammates. Friendly fire is on. The old man begs Tuji to take him with them. He's ready to pay for a carry. Tuji asks about the adventurers in the village, and the old man exposes the corruption arc. The adventurers at the gate are frauds on the mayor's payroll. They claim to be C rank, but are barely E rank noobs. They split the quest rewards with the mayor. It's a massive scam to farm gold without doing any work. The old man says the hunters know the truth but can't report it or they'll get banned from the village. The mayor is willing to pay the cancellation fee just to keep his scheme going. He's a total NPC ignoring the world-ending threat. Tuji is pissed. He wants to grief the mayor. The old man thinks this is divine punishment for the village of idiots. The MC decides to lock in. He tells the old man not to worry about the bodies because his party already secured the kills. He declares they will save the village from the remaining group. Quest accepted. The old man is shook. He can't believe the MC is still willing to help after being cancelled. Tuji strikes a pose. Together they will go defeat the Necromancer, as he radiates that main character energy. The guards at the gate are panicking, screaming at a group of figures to stop. They are absolutely terrified, warning the figures not to come any closer. They realize these are the adventurers they sent out earlier, but they look completely clapped. The guards demand to know what happened because the squad looks like they went through a meat grinder. The approaching figures are swaying and groaning like NPCs with bad pathfinding. The guards are convinced these guys are turning into zombies. One guard screams that one bite will turn them into undead monsters. He tells everyone to run for their lives because he thinks the zombie apocalypse event just started. The guards abandon their posts and run to the villagers who start yapping and complaining. They ask why the guards aren't helping. The guards are confused, asking why these adventurers aren't fighting the monsters since that's their job. The frauds shout back, blaming the mayor for canceling the request. They are trying to shift the blame for their massive skill issue. The goblins are screaming in terror, shouting like broken records. They claim they are all done for, and tell everyone to run. They say you can't kill the dead unless you burn them to ashes or chop them into tiny pieces. They are fleeing the server faster than a tryhard who just lost a 1v1. They completely abandon the lobby. 2G explains the new meta strategy to his team. It's a simple plan. Node and the Flyers will act as the evac team for the villagers. Ignale and Gary will hold the front gate and tank the horde. Meanwhile, 2G, Pochi, and Golio will push the jungle and hunt down the goblin Necromancer. 2G spots a goblin wearing a hood in the distance. He assumes it's the boss because it has unique skins. Pochi lines up the shot and hits a clean 360 no-scope. The arrow takes the goblin's head clean off. 2G thinks they just secured the dub, but the body doesn't despawn. It keeps moving even without a head. It's still controlling the undead army. 2G is shook. Golio steps in and smashes the body into the ground with his hammer. 2G inspects the remains and realizes it was a decoy. It was just a random zombie wearing a hoodie. They got catfished. 2G admits the Necromancer has high IQ for using a body double to draw aggro. Since they can't find the real boss, 2G decides to just spawn camp the entire village. They proceed to wipe out every goblin and zombie in sight, clearing the trash mobs while waiting for the boss to show up. Suddenly, Pochi alerts the squad. Something massive is flying in from the forest. 2G looks up and sees a giant silhouette against the moon. He realizes if he can see the enemy from this distance, its hitbox must be absolutely massive. A new raid boss has entered the chat. A massive wing casts a shadow over the village. 2G looks up and realizes the enemy isn't just big, it's an absolute unit. It's an undead dragon. 2G can't believe his eyes. A necromancer usually has to kill something first to revive it, and dragons are S-tier monsters. The fact that this goblin managed to kill and revive a dragon means his power level is broken. 2G realizes they are way out of their weight class. This is a legendary class boss fight. 2G decides to stop holding back and summons his own carry. He calls out King Kamon, his massive slime summon. King drops in like a gigachad, wearing a crown and looking ready to brawl. The King Slime is hyped. He says he's always wanted a challenge like this. He starts glazing 2G and promising to do his best. 2G thinks the slime is being a bit dramatic with his water gun words, but he appreciates the enthusiasm. The undead dragon swoops down, looking terrifying. 2G realizes King might be hiding his true power level. King Kamon lets out a roar that shakes the whole map. The dragon roars back. 2G covers his ears because the audio is peaking. 2G asks Ignale a question. He asks if goblins can speak human language. Ignale says absolutely not. It's common knowledge they are just mobs. But 2G points out they all heard the Necromancer speak earlier. Juno drops some lore. She says if a goblin evolves to a high enough tier, like a goblin king, it can gain speech. She mentions a goblin sage named Koken on the other side of the mountains, who can talk. 2G realizes the hero group is responsible for this mess too. Their reckless grinding caused a monster stampede that drove Koken and his undead army out of the mountains and into this area. 2G is fuming. He hates that hero group. They are literally griefing the entire server. Juno warns 2G that a goblin sage is bad news. Even her mom warned her to stay away from them. But King Kamon is already locked in. He sees the goblin sage riding the dragon and calls him a worthy opponent. Their battle will be legendary. King Kamon charges in with zero hesitation. Battle Mania activated. The dragon unleashes a death flame attack. It hits King Kamon point blank. 2G screams thinking his slime just got one-shotted. It looks like a critical hit. King Kamon takes the death flame straight to the face. He screams in pain. 2G is shook, asking if his summon is okay. The King Slime is a total chad though. He sacrificed most of his body mass to shield 2G from the attack, turning into steam. He asks for water to reload his HP bar. 2G realizes there's no time to be sad. They need to help King recover. He orders Pochi and Golio to form a bucket brigade using the kitchen set. They start spamming water buckets on King Kamon. Pochi tells the king not to worry. He offers to make potions, but King says he just needs raw H2O. Pochi apologizes for using up the giant slime ingredients earlier to make potions. They are scrambling like a pit crew. Meanwhile, the goblin sage orders his dragon to attack the slime again. He wants to finish the job while King is nerfed. Meanwhile, 2G is trying to support his carry. Golio steps up with his hammer ready to tank. But 2G realizes they are in a bad spot. King Kamon isn't smart enough to go all out on his own, so he needs orders. But their skills aren't great against an undead dragon. 2G is panicking. Pochi barks to snap him out of it. Suddenly, a fire tornado erupts. It's a magic windstorm. 2G is confused. Who cast that? The goblin sage is also confused. He asks if they think they can hit him from that height. He thinks they are trying to snipe the rider, but 2G knows King will eventually run out of water if this continues. Pochi takes a shot with his crossbow but misses. The goblin sage mocks them because he is way too high. He asks if they really think they can hit the rider. Then Pochi unleashes his trap card, Elemental Magic. Pochi isn't just a physical attacker. He's a hybrid build. He casts a long-range magic attack. The goblin sage is shook. He didn't expect a kobold to have range. Taugi realizes that for someone this strong to be driven from his homeland, Juno wasn't kidding. This really is Koken, the goblin sage. The hero group that caused this stampede are worse than useless. They are liabilities. They messed up the entire server's ecosystem and drove a high-level boss into a newbie zone. Suddenly the village catches fire. The fire tornado or the dragon's attacks have set the houses ablaze. The villagers are screaming. It's absolute chaos. The battle just turned into a disaster movie. Toji and his squad are fleeing. The goblin sage and his undead dragon are chasing them down. The sage screams that all friends of the hero must be deleted. Toji tries to explain he isn't friends with that idiot and his harem, but the sage isn't listening. He thinks all humans are obtus. Toji realizes he has a dragon breathing down his neck because of some other players griefing. He's furious. The sage keeps ranting about how the hero betrayed him and tried to turn him into a page boy. Toji is like, bro, I don't care about your drama. Just stop chasing me. Toji comes up with a big brain strategy. Thanks to his map function, he knows there's a river nearby. He tells the squad to draw the dragon away from the village. If they fight here, the village will get wiped by collateral damage. Toji tells King Kaman about the river. He says they can use it as fuel. Toji has a plan. Let him cook. The goblin sage catches up, screaming at them to perish. He launches a breath attack with the dragon. It's a massive beam of energy. Toji yells at everyone to watch out. The squad dodges, but the attack hits Golio. Critical hit. Toji realizes if they didn't have pay-to-win enhanced gear, they would be dead. They lost about 30% of their HP from just one hit. Toji is sweating. Toji remembers Golio's special ability, where Golio starts taking damage meant for the team. Golio's hard skin is starting to crack. She's taking a beating for the squad. The goblin sage orders the dragon to destroy the stupid golem. The dragon bites down on Golio's shoulder. Crunch. Toji panics. He doesn't know how much longer Golio can tank this damage. The dragon bites down into the poor girl and soon she starts falling apart. Toji watches in panic as his tank is taken down by a stupid goblin on a dragon. A massive stone barrel flies through the air and crashes into the ground. It's Golio. Toji screams, thinking his tank just got deleted. The undead dragon just hit Golio with a massive attack, sending him flying like a ragdoll. The goblin sage laughs maniacally. He mocks Toji for crying over a puny golem. He calls Golio a broken weak monster. Toji snaps back. He yells that Golio wasn't just a golem, he was his friend. The sage mocks him again, asking what makes a golem so important. Toji drops the truth. Seeing Golio's shattered remains was a huge wake-up call. He realizes this isn't a game. His familiars' lives and his own life are in serious danger. He explains that in the games he played, monsters destroyed in battle were safely put back into the monster inventory book and didn't really die. But this is real life, and he's terrified. The sage is yapping again. He keeps saying that the humans are at fault, and they will all pay. He claims the attack was meant for the crimes done to them. Toji demands to know what freaking crime they committed that Golio had to die for. The sage reveals he is searching for a human hero named Tachiga. He claims this hero destroyed his home and killed his friends for no reason. He says humans kill all monsters, even if they do nothing. He generalizes that all humans are the same. Racist much? Toji yells that he told the sage before. He has nothing to do with those morons. He asks if the sage's undead brain is rotten. He's sick of hearing about the good-for-nothing hero. The sage calls him a liar. The sage screams that he will get revenge on all humans and on hero Tachiga. He orders his dragon to burn them all. The dragon charges up a massive breath attack. Toji realizes there's no reasoning with this guy. The dragon unleashes a torrent of energy. Toji thinks it's all over, but then a massive figure jumps in front of the attack. It's King Kaman. The king slime is back, and he's absolutely massive after absorbing the river water. He blocks the attack with his giant body. Toji is shocked at the size of his summon. King Kaman apologizes for being late. He says he's here now. King Kaman is the MVP. The goblin sage is shook. He realizes the enemy is very strong. He orders his dragon to destroy the slime. King Kaman is ready to rumble. King Kaman unleashes his full power. He fires a massive beam of water energy. It looks like a hyper beam. The attack hits the dragon and the sage. The sage screams as he gets blasted. Toji realizes King's roar is an instant death move. It's even taking off HP from everyone else in the area. King apologizes, saying he got carried away in his rage. Toji checks his monster book. He sees Golio's card. It says cooldown time before Golio revives is 24 hours. Toji is so relieved he almost cries. It really is like the game. Monsters don't die permanently. They just have a respawn timer. Toji wipes his face, relieved that Golio didn't really die even though it scared the hell out of him. He decides that next time he summons Golio, he should do something nice for her. Maybe dress her up like Igneel does. A wholesome ending to a terrifying raid. Toji praises King Kaman for the carry, but before he can celebrate, he realizes the enemy is missing in action. The goblin sage and his undead dragon are nowhere to be seen. Toji wonders where they went, thinking they might have been yeeted into the stratosphere by the attack. 2G theorizes they might have fallen to the ground after taking the hit. He knows even if they survived, they are probably low HP. He tells the squad to look out for them. They search the forest but find zero loot. No bodies, no drop items. 2G is reluctant to go back to the village after causing a scene, but he hopes he never sees those enemies again. Back at the village, 2G breaks the bad news to Igneal. He explains he pushed Goleo too hard and had to put him back in the summoning book to recover. Igneal thanks the squad for their hard work. 2G asks if she can play with Goleo when she comes back out. 2G thinks to himself that Goleo deserves a reward, but dressing him up in a dress like Igneal suggests is kinda cringe. 2G declares the mission a success. The others hypes him up, saying he defeated both a Necromancer and a dragon. 2G stays humble, saying he wouldn't go that far since he's not sure if they are truly defeated. Suddenly the village square turns into a PvP zone. The fraudsters and the bald mayor are tied up. The villagers are furious. The mayor tries to gaslight them, telling them not to listen to the lying fairy, but a villager exposes him, revealing the mayor planned to cheat the fraudsters out of their cut. The alliance crumbles instantly. Betrayal arc. The villagers are ready to throw hands. The mayor pleads for mercy, but the villagers demand to know if he protected anyone. The mayor blames the fake adventurers for being useless. The adventurers yell back, calling him a greedy liar. They are all snitching on each other. The villagers drop the hammer. They say the mayor ignored the real threat and was going to let everyone die. The mayor tries to argue, but he has no ground to stand on. The fraudsters realize they are not only losing their lives, but also their share of the scam money. Lepless ratio. The fraudsters beg, saying the punishment is too harsh. A villager grabs a money bag. The mayor screams as the villager rips it away. He cares more about his money and hair than his life. Priorities. The fraudsters cry about losing their loot. The villager tells them they are paying for their misdeeds. The mayor screams in agony. 2G watches from the sidelines, thinking this is just karma doing its job. He notes the rotting bodies around are proof enough of the danger, so the mayor can't spin the narrative. 2G jokes internally that unsanitary conditions lead to baldness. Roast. The villagers thank Toji profoundly for saving their lives and destroying the monsters. They hand him a massive bag of gold, saying it's way more than the cancellation fee. Toji is surprised but accepts the reward. Toji reflects that things turned out pretty well. He takes the money, realizing his prediction about parting with money or hair came true. Toji narrates the epilogue. The corrupt mayor is sentenced to hard labor from dawn to dusk for a very long time. The town decides to form a council instead of electing a new leader to avoid another corrupt admin. Toji prepares to leave. He asks Pochi if he's ready to go home. Pochi barks in agreement. Toji thinks it's best to put some distance between him and this drama. He realizes they are close to the border, so the enemies can't legally demand his return, but they might try to gank him. Toji receives news from the guild. He knows about the town's leadership change, but the guild also warns him of something troubling. Toji worries that if the enemies are still out there, they will cause trouble later. He wonders if the death of the Necromancer will affect the neighboring country. He realizes people have been asking about his whereabouts. Even King Kaman was worried. Toji decides that even with mountains between them, he isn't safe. He plans to move further away to avoid getting stream sniped by political enemies. The squad finally has a day off in Sarto after the massive raid. Toji is checking out his new gear in the mirror. He thinks the clothing enhancements came out looking fresh, giving him that stat-boosted drip. He asks Pochi what the move is for the day since they are free. Suddenly, Igneal pulls up to the base. She greets Goleo, but she's confused because the golem is nowhere to be seen. Toji explains that he put Goleo back in the monster inventory book to recover HP after tanking so much damage. Igneal is visibly disappointed that she can't see her favorite rock monster. She asks Toji if she can borrow Goleo for the day. She admits she wants to pamper it. She hands Toji some cash and tells him to go buy something nice for himself, basically paying him to leave so she can be alone with the golem. Pochi decides to tag along with Toji instead of third-wheeling that weirdness. Toji walks through town wondering if this situation counts as a three-girl shopping spree, since Goleo is technically involved. He gets a bad feeling about leaving those three alone. He worries that combining a fire sorceress, a golem, and a dungeon core is a recipe for chaos. At first he decides to trail after the girls, but when he sees that they are just doing normal girly things, he decides to leave them alone. He figures he can trust Igneal to show Goleo a good time since she seems to understand the golem's lack of self-confidence. Toji shakes off the bad vibes and decides to head to the marketplace to see if there are any good deals. Later that evening, Toji and Pochi return to the base. It's past dinner time. They open the door and are immediately shook by what they see. Igneal is there with Goleo, but the golem has been completely yassified. Igneal is there with Goleo, but the golem has been completely yassified. Goleo is wearing a massive ribbon and looks like it just came out of a salon. Igneal explains that she hired the best sculptor in Sarto to fix Goleo's battle damage. Since the damage caused Goleo to revert to its base form, she paid extra to have it reborn. Toji realizes Igneal went all out. She claims the sculptor used her as a model for the new look. Toji notices the sculptor used reinforced materials for the fine details, making Goleo's skin look glossy. He has to admit the craftsmanship is S tier. Goleo poses with a peace sign, clearly vibing with the makeover. Tuji realizes that Ignail really went the extra mile to reward Goleo for tanking the Necromancer. But the next day, much to Goleo's dismay, she returns back to her fat body. Tuji heads over to the Albert residence to check on Meyer. She notices how sad Galeo is and asks what is wrong. Meyer, realizing that she was totally ditched when it came to such a fun girls' trip, gets mad. She then asks about Ignail totally trying her hardest not to sound jealous. Then she asks about Juno, who is watching her from his shoulder smugly. Meyer screams once she realizes Juno is a dungeon core, and not a fairy. To rub it in, Juno says that she and Tuji are best friends. But Meyer is quick to catch the bluff. Instead, she asks just how close she and Tuji are. Then, since she is Tuji's bestie, she must also be Meyer's bestie. And soon the girls start acting like the bestest of friends as Tuji's harem grows. Juno then reaches the conclusion that since Tuji has 100 friends, she also has 100 friends, but Tuji isn't too keen about sharing his buddies. Tuji then reveals that he is here to sell items, not just chit-chat, but Meyer explains she won't be doing business with him for a while because she's leaving Sarto on a business trip to Gillis. She explains that her company can't rely solely on Tuji's broken manufacturing skills for their profits. She needs to diversify their portfolio. Her father, the CEO, ordered her to check out the latest magical technology in Gillis. She wants to be a top-tier merchant just like her dad was back in his prime. Tuji understands the grind. Meyer invites him to come along with her. Tuji accepts the invite instantly, with zero hesitation. He explains that he was planning to leave Sarto anyway to let the heat die down. Tuji reveals that his departure is a strategic withdrawal. The stupid hero party and the Deepru King are still trying to recruit him, and he wants no part of that toxicity. As long as he's far away from them, he's happy. Meyer is thrilled that they are teaming up again. Meyer drops the time that they are leaving at dawn the next morning. Tuji panics, realizing he has absolutely zero prep time. The adventure begins immediately, and he is definitely not ready. Meyer stands on business. True to her word, she is ready to leave the city at the crack of dawn. She tells Tuji not to worry about security checks because her horses are built different and trained not to get spooked by his weirdo familiars. Tuji is feeling a bit clapped though. He couldn't say goodbye to Gary and Node because they were out grinding a mission, but the real L is that he didn't recruit Meyer. He admits he fumbled the bag and regrets not asking her to join the party permanently. Even Ignail was vibing with Goleo and Juno. Juno and Goleo are absolutely down bad. They are disappointed that Meyer isn't sticking around for the long haul. Tuji is spiraling, calling himself spineless. He is radiating beta energy right now. Suddenly Pochi pulls up with a snack to fix the mood. But Tuji looks at the plate and his soul leaves his body. It's a giant bug. Tuji realizes Pochi is trying to comfort him, but he is not mentally prepared to eat a literal monster. Meyer takes one look and calls it gross. Pochi confirms it's a giant locust. Tuji tries to pass the plate to Juno or Goleo, trying to dodge this bullet. But Pochi hits him with the ultimate guilt trip jutsu. Tuji promised to be the first to taste test his new creations. Meyer agrees, saying a man has to keep his word to his familiars. Tuji realizes he's cooked and agrees to eat one just to stop them from force-feeding him. He takes a bite, expecting it to be trash. But hold up, it's actually bussin'. The flavor is sweet with a spicy kick, crispy on the outside and chewy on the inside. He says it tastes like fried shrimp. S tier drop. Meyer sees Tuji enjoying it and decides to risk it all for a bite. She is shook. She says it hits just as hard as Pochi's butter cookies and loves the spicy aftertaste. Pochi is hyped. Now, Meyer is addicted. She's snacking on locust tsukudani while drinking ale like a true Chad. The squad is speedrunning the travel, saving a bundle of cash on stables because they just sleep inside Juno's dungeon. Juno can create a storage area that acts like a low-level item box. It's a literal cheat code. She just lets the old dungeon break down and builds a new lobby nearby every time they stop. Torji is chilling in his portable mansion, looking at the moon and realizing how beautiful the graphics are when you aren't grinding 24/7. He admits having a portable house is OP. Meyer asks where Pochi is. Torji says Pochi and Goleo went outside a while ago, but then he remembers Pochi looked angry and was holding a crossbow. That is definitely sus. Suddenly the door opens and Pochi returns with Goleo and something else. Goleo pulls up to the lobby carrying a massive dead bird on his shoulder like it's light work. It's a cockatrice, a rare spawn usually found near the Sea of Trees. Tuji is shook that they actually hunted one. He's worried that if he puts it in his inventory, the system will nerf it into generic chicken loot. Pochi is hungry and wants to serve this unit for dinner. Tuji asks if he should dismantle it, but Pochi is already locked in. In literally no time at all, the entire bird is plucked and separated into basic cuts. Speedrun strats confirmed. Goleo took 0 damage from the petrifying smoke because he's a walking pile of rocks. Type advantage is crazy. Tuji asks where Pochi learned to dismantle, and Pochi claims his master taught him. Tuji realizes there is still a lot of lore he doesn't know about this dog. Tuji offers to store the meat, but Pochi demands the tail for dinner. Toji is confused because he thinks the tail is trash loot, but Pochi insists it's like poultry, Pochi serves up deep-fried cockatrice tail. It looks absolutely bussin'. Meyer is hesitant, admitting it's her first time eating tail. She takes a bite and her eyes light up. The exterior is crispy, the interior is juicy, and the garlic soy sauce glaze is S-tier. She says it tastes like high-grade carahaj. She glazes the kobold's cooking skills, calling him an absolute genius. Tanji tries it and agrees it's fire. Then Ponji offers a second dish. Tanji tries it but notices it lacks the deep flavor of the first dish. Ponji reveals the plot twist. The second dish is thigh meat, but the tail actually has the best flavor. Tanji realizes Ponji was looking out for them by serving the god roll cut first. Tanji admits Ponji feeds him weird stuff, but he can't hate because the food is always peak. He decides to wash it down with some booze because the meal was too good. Later, the squad is traveling in a carriage. Meyer is hyped because they are heading to the Togar capital, a city by the sea. She is ready for the beach episode. Tuji is more interested in the auction house. He wants to sell a magic sword he crafted. Tuji explains his sword has OP stats like STR plus 5%. The company decided to auction it with a starting price of 100,000 gold. Meyer thinks that is awesome, but she warns him that the admission fee for the auction is 1,000 gold coins. Meyer thinks that is awesome. That's whale territory. Tuji isn't worried. He says thanks to Pochi's drop rate buff, he has plenty of rare items to sell. He needs the money to pay rent and upgrade his familiars. Meyer warns him that nobles have connections and resources that normies can't imagine, so he needs to watch his mouth. Tuji starts yapping about being a perfectionist who sacrifices sleep for his job. Pochi wakes up and looks at him like bro, cap. Tuji teases Pochi about whipping up pancakes. Tuji says their journey is never boring. They stop at a small village during the trip. Tuji enters a house to talk to the village chief. The man is in bed coughing like he's got the debuff of the century. He tells them to leave immediately. He says a strange illness has affected everyone in the lobby. He warns them to GTFO before the illness spreads. The village is a quarantine zone. Tuji and the squad roll up to a small village on their way to the capital. They were expecting a chill, quaint settlement, but the vibes are off. It looks like a ghost town. The village chief, who looks like he's got one foot in the grave, explains the situation. A strange illness hit the server recently, and everyone is down bad. They sent messages to local healers, but they are waiting on that respawn timer. The chief tells them to leave because the disease hits the elderly and children the hardest. He doesn't want them to catch the debuff. Tuji being Tuji isn't about to just leave. He says he doesn't like seeing people suffer. Hero complex activated. Tuji considers giving them food or potions, but realizes without knowing the cause, it's just a stopgap measure. He needs to find the root directory of the bug. Suddenly Pochi starts sniffing the air. Tuji asks, "What's up, Pochi?" Pochi signals towards the well. Tuji realizes Pochi wants him to use his appraisal skill on the water bucket. Tuji scans the water. The results are cursed. Diseased sewage water. Highly contaminated well water. Tuji is shook. Drinking this water is literally a death sentence. No wonder the villagers are getting wrecked. Even if they took medicine, drinking this water would just reapply the poison status effect. Tuji tells the chief the water is contaminated. The chief can't believe it. Tuji suggests checking the source to see if it's more than just bad plumbing. He suspects the crops might be cooked too if they use this water. The chief says the recent harvest was winter crops, so maybe some are safe. Tuji decides to investigate the source of the pollution. The chief tries to thank him but says they are broke. Tuji tells him not to worry about the payment. He's doing this pro bono, unlike that greedy bald fraud from the last village. The chief tries to get up, but he's coughing like he's about to disconnect. Tuji tells him to chill. Pochi tries to help, but the chief says he can handle it. He feels responsible as the head of the village. Tuji drops a quote that good done to others is good done to oneself. He explains that helping others makes him feel good. So if the chief lets him help, everyone wins. It's selfish altruism, but it works. The chief is touched by this kindness. He hopes he didn't just die on him. Tuji admits he's a strange guy in a strange world with strange powers. He accepts his role as the weirdo savior. Tuji hypes up Pochi, saying that they should do their best and save this village. The squad is ready to grind this quest. Tuji calls a server-wide meeting at the town square, basically pinging at everyone. The villagers log in, but they look absolutely cooked. Some mothers are holding sick babies, and the vibes are tragic. Toji apologizes for the interruption, but says this is a serious emergency. He realizes the situation is sweaty, and he needs to act fast. He calls out to Tyrol, his slime, telling it to get ready to carry the lobby. Toji starts hyping up Tyrol. He explains this isn't some basic trash mob slime you farm in the tutorial. He summons it with a flash of light. Tyrol appears looking soft and squishy with a cute ribbon. Meyer looks confused, wondering why he's just showing off his pet cosmetic in the middle of a crisis. Tuji drops the meta strategy. He reveals Tyrol has a broken ability to recover HP for everyone in the area every 10 seconds. He explains that the contaminated water is applying a constant damage over time on the villagers, draining their health bar, but as long as they stay near Tyrol, the healing aura will out-heal the damage. It's basically an infinite healing glitch. Meyer is shook, realizing how rare and OP that skill is. She demands to know where he got such a broken unit. Tuji says healing isn't enough. They need to restore their stamina with actual nutrition. He unveils a massive pot of cockatoo stew. The smell is immaculate. The villagers who were too sick to eat suddenly feel their hunger bar deplete. Tuji asks Meyer to help craft rice balls. She agrees, but gets salty because Tuji shapes them better than she does. She feels skill-diffed in cooking by a guy from another world. The villagers start feasting. The food is bussin'. Everyone gets a massive mood buff. Tuji talks to the village chief, admitting he's in too deep to quit now. He decides to see this quest through to the end. He's fully committed to the grind. Later, Tuji goes to investigate the source of the pollution. He ruled out the soil, so he suspects the groundwater is the issue. He heads into the forest with his squad. Suddenly, Pochi freezes. He smells something vile. A gust of wind hits them, carrying a stench so bad it practically deals psychic damage to their noses. They arrive at the source. It's a swamp that looks like pure toxic waste. Pochi is dying from the smell. Tuji uses appraisal and confirms it's a highly polluted swamp. Tuji realizes this is the root cause. If you drink this, it's straight to the gulag. He wonders how to fix this mess, realizing the quest difficulty just spiked significantly. Tuji and the squad are staring at the swamp. The big question is, how the hell do they clean up this massive pool of wastewater? This is definitely the source of the village's pollution. It looks like a game dev messed up the textures and just left a glitchy mess. Tuji realizes they can't just bail out the water with buckets. That would take forever, and they'd probably get poison damage just by being near it. Pochi barks, suggesting something. Goleo seems to have an idea too. Goleo suggests using the technique the fairies taught Tuji. If they can purify the water, it won't be toxic anymore. Tuji realizes Goleo is actually cooking. It's so simple and obvious, he feels like a noob for not thinking of it sooner. Back at the base, inside the portable house, Tuji explains the plan to Meyer. Using the fairy technique could actually work. The fairies taught him how to make ultra-purified water after the Fairy Eater boss fight. However, there's a catch. The fairy technique requires a massive amount of mana. It's a high-level crafting recipe. Meyer doubts if it's possible. Tuji admits he can't replicate the exact method because his mana pool isn't infinite like a hacker. But Tuji has a workaround. He explains the fairy concept. They use bushes to filter water and infuse it with mana. He can't do the bush thing, but he can use alchemy. He learned that purified water can be created from normal water using alchemy skills. Tuji explains that as his alchemy level increases, he unlocks new recipes automatically. It's like a skill tree. He doesn't need to memorize anything. The system just gives him the knowledge. He realizes he can make potions to buff their equipment too. He gets shivers thinking about the min-maxing possibilities. Tuji decides to run a test. He takes a sample of the swamp water and uses his alchemy skill to create a water-purifying potion. He pours it into the sample. Science happens. The water clears up instantly. Tuji is hyped. It really works. Tuji realizes he needs a lot of potions to fix the whole swamp. He's going to have to grind crafting for a while. They return to the swamp. Tuji dumps a massive amount of the potion into the water. The water starts bubbling and clearing up. It looks way better than before, but then something huge emerges from the water. Boss music intensifies. A giant fish monster jumps out. It looks like a mutated base on steroids. Tuji is shook. He realizes he just summoned a swamp lord. The monster looks angry that someone messed with its bathwater. Tuji sighs. He knew it wouldn't be this easy. Just when he thought he cleared the level, the game throws a surprise boss fight at him. Classic. A massive fish bursts out of the swamp water. It's the swamp lord, and it looks tilted. Tuji screams, realizing this thing totally reeks. The smell is so bad it's dealing damage. Pochi is on the ground, covering his nose like he just walked into a boy's locker room. The fish screams and dives back into the water. Tuji tells Goleo to tank the smell. Since golems don't have noses, Goleo is immune to the stench debuff. Tuji realizes this fish is the source of the pollution. The fish tries to run away. Tuji is salty. He spent all that time and money purifying the water, and this fish just made it dirty again. He vows to get revenge for both the environment and Pochi's nose. Tuji decides to stop playing nice. If the fish wants to troll, he's bringing out the heavy artillery. He pulls out a hose connected to a tank. He yells and then blasts the water with a high-pressure stream. The fish tries to poison the water around it again. It's a battle of attrition. Toji realizes he doesn't need to purify the water to ultra-pure levels. He just needs to output slightly cleaner water faster than the fish can pollute it. It's a DPS race. Toji tells Pochi to plant the fairy berry shrubs he grew. He tells Goleo to keep pouring clean water. Toji is fully committed to this grind. Finally, they defeat the fish and clean the water. Toji makes sure the monster is dead so his hard work doesn't get unraveled. He admits he might have gone overboard, but the swamp water is now rendered safe. He even left some fairy shrubs to maintain the purity level. Automated farming at its finest. They head back to the village. Meyer welcomes Pochi back, but the dog looks traumatized. Meyer asks what happened. Tuji explains it was a huge fish infected by a parasite, turning it into a monster. Tuji reveals the lore. He found a tiny parasite living on the fish's body. The fish wasn't the monster. The parasite was. Tuji shows them the Kusaya Parasite Summon card. Meyer explains that merchants will pay big money for a piece of Kusaya infected fish because the flavor is intense and goes great with alcohol. It's a rare delicacy. Stonks. Meyer is shook. She can't believe people pay money for that stinky fish and what a bag Tuji will make. Pochi is still too traumatized to cook it. Tuji decides to sell it instead of eating it. He realizes he can't do much else with the parasite card besides polluting water, which is kind of a useless skill. Meyer decides to test the water as it is no longer polluted, but to her surprise the water is now ultra pure. Tuji realizes this is where he messed up big time. Tuji reflects on how the whole mess started with a tiny parasite. He can't believe something so small caused so much trouble. Meyer tells him they need to have a long chat about his abilities because casually solving a village crisis is sus. The village has completely recovered from the poisonous swamp incident. Thanks to the purified water, the crops are growing with hacked speed and quality. The overall health of the villagers has also improved, so everyone is living their best life. The relationship between the villagers and the fairies is now wholesome 100. They are sharing produce and vibing as neighbors. The village eventually becomes known as the Fairy Friend Village. They even created a specialty product called the Fairy Cookie to celebrate their alliance. Tuji realizes they are basically using the cookie recipe Pochi left them. Cookie diplomacy is the new meta. Tuji reflects on his journey with Meyer. He realized he had a bit of a problem. The kettle drop situation. Aside from his trading deals with Meyer's company, farming kettle drops from defeated monsters was his main income source. But since he's taking safe routes to avoid monsters, his wallet is taking a fat L. Tuji decides to sell some of his potion stock to local shops to make some quick cash. But the shops are already overstocked because Meyer's company flooded the market. Tuji realizes his manufacturing cheats are great, but he can't use them if the market is saturated. Suffering from success, Tuji thinks about making a new kind of potion to keep the money flowing. He remembers the ring he made earlier to test out a new material, orichalcum. He decides to tell Meyer about it. Meyer is absolutely shook. She asks if he's serious, explaining that orichalcum is incredibly rare and expensive. She asks where he got it. Tuji reveals he made an orichalcum guardian that went on a rampage and nearly trapped Juno in her own dungeon. Juno tells him to shut up immediately. She warns him never to speak of that situation again. She can't believe she made a guardian so powerful she couldn't stop it. Tuji agrees to keep it on the low. Tuji explains he is taking the ring apart to restore it to its original components. He plans to use the orichalcum to make a new type of potion. He mentions that using rare base materials makes the item more powerful. However, he will lose 20% of the original volume in the process, which is a waste. Tuji drops the lore. He wants to create a philosopher's stone. He says in role-playing games these stones are essential for alchemy. Meyer looks like her brain is buffering. She explains that the philosopher's stone represents the peak of alchemy, something most alchemists spend their whole lives trying to create. And Tuji just made one casually built different. Tuji says he was able to make the stone, so he thinks he can make the potion now. He starts crafting the elixir of wealth. He explains that once he drinks it for the next 24 hours, all kettle drop amounts will increase by a whopping 20%. It increases the user's fortune. Meyer realizes this works differently than in games. It improves his overall luck. Tuji is excited. Finally, the squad arrives at the Togar capital. Meyer is hyped to see the city. Tuji is ready. They have finally arrived at the port city of Gillis. The new arc begins. The squad has arrived in Gillis, the port city and the capital of Togar. Meyer is hyped, saying the city is huge as expected. Toji notices the salty sea air and feels a bit nostalgic for Japan. They head to the local branch of the Albert Chamber of Commerce. Meyer explains that this place basically runs itself, so she wants to look around before the auction. Toji agrees to let Meyer be his tour guide, since she knows the map. He mentions he wants to do some sightseeing too. Meyer is excited to show him around. Tuji points out a sweet shop and wants to go there. Meyer teases him about eating sweets before noon, but agrees. Tuji asks about the local food. Meyer confirms the seafood is bison. Tuji wonders what else there is to see besides food. Meyer mentions the free market, also known as the Togar Trade Center. Tuji is immediately interested. He wants to find rare items. They arrive at the market. It's packed with stalls selling all kinds of loot. One merchant claims to have rare ores. Another is selling fresh fish from the Gokusan Islands. Tuji asks Meyer if she thinks they have adamantite for sale. Meyer says a market this size is bound to have some good deals, but rare stuff like adamantite is usually found at auctions. Tuji spots a crowd gathered around a screaming match. Meyer explains it's a cockfighting ring where people bet money on the winner. It's a pretty straightforward gambling game. Tuji gets a devilish idea. He realizes he still has the elixir of fortune active. Tuji decides to test his luck stat. Meyer warns him that scammers might try to rip him off, but Tuji is already locked in. He bets on a chicken. A few hours later, Tuji and Meyer are walking away. Meyer looks exhausted, but Tuji is smiling. Meyer asks if he won big. Tuji says that they finally found some good deals, but Meyer is fuming. She screams because this is not good at all. It turns out Tuji won too much. His chicken was so strong it went on a major winning streak. It became practically undefeated. Because the chicken was so OP, nobody wanted to bet against it anymore. The bets became cheap and tiny because there was no chance of losing. The other gamblers rage quit and went home. 2G accidentally broke the game economy. To make matters worse, the previous owner of the chicken was so scared of paying Meyer off that he just gave her the chicken for free. Now Meyer is holding a rooster. Meyer is having a crisis. She didn't lose any money, but she doesn't feel like a winner. 2G finds it hilarious. He realizes the elixir of fortune is way too strong. It's basically a cheat code for luck. At least he got a free chicken out of it. Gacha success. Meyer is down bad with a hangover. She's got a splitting headache and regrets drinking so much alcohol while gambling. 2G hands her some purified water to help her recover. He scolds her lightly, but Meyer just chugs the water like it's a legendary potion. 2G thinks it's hilarious that the heir to a major trading company has a hidden gambling addiction. Meyer defends herself, saying she just got carried away. She realizes she might vomit in public, which wouldn't be very ladylike, so she decides to head out for dinner to sober up. 2G starts getting worried about her condition. At the base, Meyer just crashes on the couch as Juno judges her. She wonders if these homeless people will use her dungeon as room, when in reality they should rent. Juno offers to make an extra room for Meyer, mainly because she doesn't want the two in the same room. Toji tells her not to go overboard since she will turn into a greedy landlord soon. Later they arrive at the auction house. It's packed with nobles and rich merchants. Toji is nervous. He feels like an imposter among all these wealthy people. He remembers being just an office worker in his past life. He decides to stay in the back and keep a low profile to avoid trouble. The auction begins. The first item is presented, the shy golem made of Sarto. It's a statue of Galio in a maid outfit. Tuzi is shook. Of all the things to start with, they chose a statue of his golem. He can't believe people are actually bidding on it. The bidding starts at 1 million kettles. The price quickly jumps to 7.5 million. Tuzi is stunned that people are paying that much for a tiny golem statue. He realizes the sculptor must have been a genius to make something so valuable. Eventually the statue is sold and Tuzi realizes that maybe Igneal had a good taste when it came to Golio. The next item is up. A sizable chunk of the rare ore known as adamantite. The auctioneer announces it's 100% pure. The starting bid is 5 million. Tuji's eyes light up. He finally makes his move for the material he needs. He bids 10 million immediately. He is not playing around. He is here to swipe his card until he wins. Tuji is feeling confident. He explains his strategy. If he combines his drop item ability with his collect a special skill, he should be able to get double the amount of adamantite. He's essentially duping items. He is determined to win this auction and secure the bag. The bidding war begins. The price jumps from 5 million to 10.5 million instantly. Tuji realizes he has more than enough money to squash these tiny bids. He decides to go big or go home. He yells out 15 million like he owns the place. The auctioneer is stunned. 15 million going once, going twice, and sold. Tuji secures the win instantly. He didn't even give the other guy a chance to counterbid. He just diffed him with his wallet. Tuji explains that victory depends on how much money you can throw at your opponent. The auctioneer presents the adamantite ticket to Tuji, so he can collect the prize at the end. Back at the auction, the main event begins. The auctioneer presents the final item, a rare magical sword found in a dungeon. It's the sword Tuji made. The auctioneer claims it can increase a user's STR level by up to 15%. The crowd goes wild. Tuji is curious to see how much his crappy sword will sell for. The starting bid is 50 million kettles. The crowd gasps, but then someone shouts 67 million. The bidding war is insane. The price rockets to 100 million in less than a minute. Tuji is shook. He can't believe people are paying this much for his mid-tier loot. Then the Deprui representative shouts 200 million. The crowd goes silent. He claims his country can afford it and that equipping their hero with the best gear is worth any price. Another noble argues back, saying summoning a hero during peace is idiotic. He suggests signing a treaty instead. The guy laughs, saying heroes are insurance for future dangers. Another noble calls the heroes idiots who cause more trouble than they are worth. The guy ignores the haters and wins the bid. 200 million. Tuji calculates the stats. With the sword, the hero would have a strength of 6,000, which is broken compared to a normal person's 150. He realizes that he might have made a good weapon for the man who stirred up so much trouble for him. But Tuji thinks the 15% boost is actually kind of weak. He compares it to hitting a strong guy with a thin branch. The nobles start arguing about how amazing and useless heroes are and why they were trespassing each other's territories. The fat guy leaves to pick up his trash sword. Tuji knows that it's the kid and his harem, but soon he will be far, far away from those creeps. The auction ends and Tuji collects his sword from the counter. The woman tries to set up a plan, but Tuji is rich enough. He tries to sneak out, but he gets stopped by someone asking for the winner of the bidding. He realizes he made a scene with his 15 million bid earlier. He decides to bail. Tuji walks away with a massive grin. The elixir of fortune was a huge success. Not only did he get the adamantite, but his crappy sword sold for 200 million. He is officially rich. Meyer is still sleeping on the couch, and he wonders how she didn't puke in her sleep after the food coma she put herself in. The little fox can't believe what she is hearing, and he wonders what's up. It tells her that he did a good job watching her, but he doesn't need to cook for her. They should eat out. They decide to go out for dinner, and since they are near the ocean, he decides to have dinner at a restaurant with a seaside view. After all, watching the sun sink towards the horizon while having a meal is the best thing that could happen to him. As he turns out for the meal, Pochi wonders what's going on. He looks and sees a restaurant that vaguely resembles one he knows. It's the Pineapple Bowl. He can't believe that they have a rice bowl restaurant with pineapples in this town. This should be a federal crime. Before he left Sarto, the owner of the Donbury Pine restaurant said that he was going to open another branch. He can't believe that he actually opened one in the Talgar capital. He asks Pochi if it wants to try out this place. He is also pretty curious about the place, and if they really wants then they can do it. The little fairy continues to nag about her sweets just as he promised. He's a little annoyed and tells her that they'll get on with that after they eat, but she yells that they've been waiting for hours after the auction. How much longer? He understands and promises to get her some sweets after dinner. Little fairy yaps that he better remember his promise. They decide to have Pochi whip up an extra big batch of its sugar cookies and pancakes for Juno, the little fairy. Pochi learned to cook from the pine tree, so he wonders how the new branch will compare. The salesman immediately welcomes him to the Pineapple Bowl restaurant, and he also smiles, recognizing Tuji and Pochi. Both of them. Tuji waves his hand, and the guy wonders when he just got here. He explains that he just got here a day ago. He looks around and finds the place absolutely packed. As he sits in a booth, he wonders where the menu is. The guy explains that he can place his orders on the ticket vending machine behind him. Tuji can't believe that everything is so high-tech. Sure enough, there's a ticket vending machine just behind him. They have pork, beef, chicken, and everything. And they can even select the bowl size and add or subtract ingredients. He nervously wonders where he gets this thing. The man smiles, explaining that the Albert Company and the magical equipment maker at Gillies asked him to test out the new product. And when he told them that he's making a new restaurant with maximum savings and profits, they came on with the gadget. He laughs, telling them that his beloved rice bowl restaurant is coming together nicely. The new U-shaped counter. The menu selection is starting to look like a chain store back in Japan. A server tells him that they have another order for one regular beef bowl. The owner smiles and tells Tuji and Pochi to make their selections and have a seat. Tuji finds it really cool. Instead of a vending machine giving disappointment and cherry-flavored sodas, they have rice bowls. Pochi always has a special place in his heart, and since he likes the restaurant, it must be really moving for him. He decides to try out and try to order. Juno also wants to try the thing, and asks Tuji for money. Tuji gives her money, and wonders what he wants. He looks through the menu and finds a limited-time-only extreme seafood bowl. It costs 2,000 kettles. He is surprised that they have one of those. It's been a long time since he had one of these. He has made his choice and tells Pochi and Juno to make theirs. They also choose the same thing. The owner smiles, telling them it's a good choice. It's considered the ultimate seafood dish. As he was talking about it a lot, he figured that he would order it someday. Tuji smiles. Does that mean the seafood bowl involves raw fish? He remembers asking that the other day. Tuji says that even though Gillis came up with a new magical device called a refrigerator to cook fish fresh, some people in the Togar capital don't eat it raw. He had to make a weight so that raw fish can be eaten safely, and it actually tastes good. Pochi wonders if he is using kombucha like curing fish with sea kelp. The owner is taken aback. How did he know about his secret method? It took him several years to come up with that idea. With the help of the new refrigerators, they can keep raw fish for a long time, and the new seafood bowl is a special dish served with soy sauce and wasabi. Tuji can't believe that there is wasabi here as well. It looks like he just stepped into Japan. He smiles, telling Tuji that they have it for a while, though not many people use it. His mouth starts drooling because the combination of soy sauce and raw fish makes him feel as if his taste buds are in heaven. He actually had come across the recipe of the century, and it's a real shame that nobody wants to try his new dish. It turns out that it's because of supply and demand, and maybe that's why it's not selling. It turns out Tuji is the first one to ask about it. Tuji smiles and tells him it's his honor to taste it. And how did he know about soy sauce and wasabi? And did he know that they are great for steak as well? The owner smiles. Now he's talking. He really knows his food, and he wonders if the other customers will try to order it as well. The waiter yells at the owner that they have a lot of orders coming in. He apologizes and gets on with work. Tuji smiles. It's good to know that the business is booming. He remembers eating grilled chicken with sauce, and if they have soy sauce, then sashimi is also possible. It's one of his favorite Japanese foods. Though it's a bit pricey, he decides to splurge once in a while. After all, he got a lot at the auction. The owner apologizes for the delay, and it's really fun to talk about food with experts like them, so he forgets that he's also working. He brings them their bowl, and Tuji's eyes immediately light up. It's the real thing, a seafood platter with all the bells and whistles. Raw fatty tuna, salmon, shrimp, shellfish, and soy sauce and wasabi. Pochi is also drooling. How fancy looking, he says, barely able to stop himself. He's about to dig in. The owner smiles, looking at their expressions. He got premium fish from the vendor, and from the waters of the islands. It's really high quality, and he couldn't sell it for 2,000 kettles per bowl, or he would be bankrupt. Little Juno looks at the wasabi sauce, wondering if she has to pour it all. It's a little hard for her, so maybe he can do it for her. After he pours it, she'll eat it by herself. Looking at the sauce drizzling that epic bowl is enough to make her mouth water. Tuji also secretly wonders how she can put so much food in such a tiny body. He's seen her devour entire snacks and pancakes with no issue. They dig in and Tuji feels like he's in heaven. This truly is the taste of Japan, and this brings him back to his hometown diners. With a taste of nostalgia, he gets hooked on the dish and decides to ask for seconds as anyone would. All elf, beast, and man eat the bowl with relish, enjoying every bite. This seafood platter has single-handedly ended racism. The owner smiles, telling them that he enjoys seeing them eat so enthusiastically. It makes it worth it. His cooking is so vigorous that it brings a smile to everyone's face. Tuji, while having a big shrimp in his mouth, says that it's really amazing. The owner is glad that he likes his food, but he really shouldn't talk with his mouth full. He doesn't want Tuji to be the first choking incident in the restaurant. Tuji realizes that there are other seafood dishes that go great with soya sauce and wasabi. He asks if he knows of a dish called sushi. The owner wonders what that is. That something they're supposed to eat? He decides to borrow Yunho's bowl for a moment. Yunho starts throwing a fit. She was not finished yet. Tuji casually shows the owner his next big selling recipe. Sushi is very popular in Japan, and it sometimes uses raw fish. They need to cook some of their rice, season it with salt and pickles, and vinegar, shape it like he just shaped it, and put a slice of raw fish just like he did, and add some soya sauce and wasabi. It's simple enough. The owner is taken aback. Is he some hidden cooking genius or something? How did he know that they can add in soya sauce and wasabi? Even though it's a common novel in Japan, Tuji is walking around as if he's Gordon Ramsay. It's not like he invented sushi, he just happened to know how it was made back in the day. He still loves his seafood bowl, and it's pretty good, but he should season it with vinegar. The owner is once again surprised. He didn't expect this man with a budget haircut to know his way around dishes. Does he know any other rice dishes that he can easily make? The dishes from his hometown might catch on here, and maybe they can get together and brainstorm some new menu items. Tuji is excited. If that's the case, then he wants to be the taste tester. He wants to try what he cooks up. The owner smiles and points at his face. This is going to be the restaurant's public image, but since he can't grasp the basics of sushi yet, he can experiment. He has a hunch that sushi is going to be really popular. Tuji is excited. He's looking forward to eating delicious sushi for free, and he'll also help the old man as much as he can to get it done. And just like that, behind the kitchen in the old man's private room, he had Juno set up the door to her dungeon. Even so, he can't believe that Meyer is still sleeping, like a log. It's going to be boring until the restaurant closes, and it looks like Meyer isn't going to wake up anytime soon. The rooster in her arm starts crying for help. He just decides to pretend he didn't see this and decides to use a blanket to cover her up. He doesn't like the idea of her sleeping with her peaches exposed. Juno arrives and waves excitedly. She finishes making the hallway in everyone else's room. If they want to see, they should accompany her. Since Meyer is already asleep, they decide to let her stay in the living room. He asks the golem to watch over her while they look for their rooms. The golem notices something weird and turns to Toji. Toji wonders what's wrong. They look at the rooster complaining again and trying to sneak away. Tuji smiles and tells the chicken that he's not on the menu, at least for tonight. He is then dragged away by Juno, who has worked really hard to make these rooms for them. They arrive and the room is kind of plain looking. A bed, a sofa, a table, something only a bachelor would have. It's a simple room, but this is Pochi's room. Pochi excitedly smiles. To Pochi, it's more than enough. Juno also asks if Pochi would want to sleep with Toji, and they can use this room as a spare guest room. He admits that his room is a lot bigger, and he doesn't mind if Pochi wants to stay with him. Juno clicks her tongue because she also wants to stay with Toji. Now things are getting sus. He reminds her that she's the whole dungeon herself, but she yaps that things can get lonely if nobody is there. She wants to stay as well. He decides to let her stay for now. It all goes with her when she moves the door. Since he got time, he decides to start mining and processing the ores. His pets look at him, grab a lot of ores out of his fanny pack. Mining the adamantium that he wants from the auction helps keeping him occupied. He smiles blissfully because he also has gold, silver, and platinum drops. Juno wonders what he's doing, and when he came to her dungeon the first time, he mined the walls as well, but all he did was break a chunk of it apart. He smiles and explains that she can't see drops. He also has a question. She asks about the magic sword at the auction. She has never heard of a sword that has a 15% stamina boost. He was the one who made it, wasn't he? And how did he do that? Tuji looks away nervously because it's complicated. He wants to remain friends with Juno, so he'll have to be honest. He explains that he needs her to keep it a secret. Neither Meyer nor Igneal knows about it. As long as Juno is given pancakes as bribes, she decides never to tell anyone. She excitedly hops on the bed and Jack has no doubt that his secret is safe with her. Not because she is secretive, but because she has 2 fewer brain cells to reveal. He then explains how his gamer abilities and how he can only summon and he can see the drops. He also tells her about his craftsmanship abilities, and that lets him create gear with special effects. Juno yells that this is unfair, that only he and the others can see drops. She wants to see them too. Jack side-eyes her. If she really wants to be familiar with the drops, she'll have to be killed once. Juno tells Jack to make a card for her as well, but he doesn't know how to do it, and he's not sure of getting a drop of her. As a proper summon, he would have their cards in the monster book, and Juno doesn't take up a slot, so she can't be summoned. If he kills Juno, chances are that the minerals that make up her dungeon will return to the ground, and he would lose all the material he has stored, so it's too much of a risk. Juno supposes that what he says is right, but if breaking ore gives him more drops, how about it? She waves her hands and he yells, "What the hell is he doing? What did she do to his adamantium?" She tells him not to worry and go look in the other room. They turn to see all the adamantium in one piece as well. Toji is horrified. Not only is it whole again, but it's a little bigger than before. Does this mean what he thinks it means? Can she mine it over and over again?